Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Game Week 12 pod of the FPL Wire. We are back. I'm your host, Zoph, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Late Riser and Pras. It's good to be back, boys. How was the break been, Pras? Because we are not seeing you in 5 videos over the last week.
It was weird for me too. I was talking in my sleep. uh, no, it was good. I was telling you guys before it started that I definitely needed it. It was a good break and it was a proper break. Like the story is on Friday, and this is absolutely true. I'm just sitting and having dinner, and I'm like, I've not checked prices for 4 days. Oh my God, has Gordon gone down or whatever? I was like, nah, it's fine. It's okay. We'll figure it out. And as it turned out, a lot has happened in the international break. How has yours been? I can see LR is already dressed for the main topic of the pod, all ready for a Man United chat for 40 minutes on Bruno versus who else? LR,
No,
how
no,
are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. No, man, this is just how good the kit is. I was telling you guys that every time it comes done with a wash, I wear it again because it just looks so good. But the break's been good, man. I've not been completely off the grid. Like you've been processing and absorbing as much information as I could. It was nice to watch, in fact, what happened. So I just didn't bother last weekend with the football. Then I saw match of the day last Thursday and Friday. So it was nice to get into it late. And then since Thursday, once I'm in the rhythm, I've been reading articles, looking into things, etc. I know our boy Zoph has been as well. He sent us a flurry of images for this pod. How's the break been
He's
treating
on
you,
top
Zoph?
of everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got withdrawal symptoms, man. It's weird not going into an international break after missing the last pod. And this time I didn't have any Thailand trip either, so it was boring, man. I watched so much content, watched so many shows, watched so many movies, but glad to be back in FPL mode.
I see some new fancy transitions also you're going to show us, right? I already seen one at the beginning.
Yep, we got the new loading screen. We got some new transitions. I've got 2 of them. One I've got with the LED screen, the other ones with the horizontal walls. Let me know that the chat, let us know how you guys like it. But lot to unpack today, boys. I thought it might be a quiet pod, but the Gabriel injury really has, well, I should say injury. We don't know the extent of it at this point. Arteta is going to just tell us the usual thing. He's going to say if Gabriel trains tomorrow, he will play. So,
Can I just say one thing though? This is what we meant by get your bench boost out of the way. Like, can you now imagine going into this period without with a bench boost to play? It's just a nightmare, man. Like, you don't know who's going to play. If you miss one week, it could be 3 game weeks. Like, it's just a nightmare.
Yeah. So happy it's out of the way.
should we get started, boys? And how's the general FPL season going? How have your weeks been, etc.? Should we even talk about that? It feels like it's so long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, generally, I feel like all 3 of us have been like sort of trotting along. I don't think any of us have had sensational weeks yet, but we're trotting along, and I feel like we're all 3 of us are due some sensational weeks, some really good weeks, and I think it's the time of the season we capitalize on. So fingers crossed for all of us.
Yep, the next 10 game weeks, I think, could potentially be season defining. So, got to plan it right.
Fun part.
Shall we go with the scout plug first up?
Let's go ahead. Love the transitions of good job. All the data that you see on this podcast is from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. For those watching on audio or listening on audio, this is a pod. Maybe the looking at the data, etc., might help. We've got a fair few visuals for you guys. And all these visuals we get from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. It's not just the visuals as well. It's the members articles, etc., that are fully worth it for us. So if you do want to become a member, scan this QR code or click on the link in the description below and become a member.
You guys know NordVPN has been a long-term partner of the FPL Wire. If you're bored of the streaming libraries in your country, with NordVPN, you can access content outside your region, get access to a wider library on your favorite streaming services. And if you're traveling outside your country, you can access your home library content. Every purchase of the 2-year NordVPN plan using the link nordvpn.com/FPL Wire will receive an additional 4 bonus months on top. Russ, what have you been watching?
Pluribus, man. Like I messaged you guys, and you were like, we've already watched it. So clearly, I was not the first one there. But a good show, and I mean, I don't want to give spoilers, but little bit, I didn't like the 3rd episode as much as the first 2. It sort of went flat, but we'll see. But that's what I was watching, and obviously, as I mentioned, my mom's here, so there's some Hindi shows going on as well. So I watched the show called Black Warrant on Netflix. I don't think it's very new, but I hadn't watched it before. But it's actually very good. It's based on
The Tihar
the
jail.
jail, the tele jail, Tihar jail, and they're real cases that happen there. So actually very nice.
Did you catch Delhi Crime, the new one?
I know you've mentioned it, and it's on the list. Is it family friendly? Like, can I watch it with a parent or no?
It's a lot more family friendly than the last two ones, especially.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm
Anand?
not sure how family friendly it is. I think just leave it to watch with the wife or something of that sort.
I guess, but I thought it's still fine. I think it's not as bad as the last year, but yeah, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. It's just too much violence, etc. as well, right? But I've been watching Delhi Crime and Pluribus. Vince, I didn't mind episode 3 of Pluribus actually. This is trademark Vince Gilligan, where he likes to world build. He likes to like pick on one small factor and extrapolate and make that into an episode. I mean, the most epic episode that comes to mind is where he made one episode out of a fly, if you remember, in the laboratory in Breaking Bad as well. So I can't wait to see what he does, because like I feel like the first season, this is one of those episodes he's stated that it's going to be 4 seasons. I know that season 4 is going to be greater than season 3 is going to be greater than season 2, because that's how just his shows work in general as well. So I'm looking forward to what he does.
So in terms of movies, I watched a couple of good ones. I finally saw One Battle After Another, potentially the movie of the year, very enjoyable. I saw Roofman, the true story Channing Tatum on base of a criminal who hides in the Toys R Us to evade the cops. Quite fun. Then I saw Sarah Snook's new show, All Her Fault. It should have been about 5 to 6 episodes, but 8 episodes still good, primarily just for Sarah Snook, and the whole setting, the entire cast is in general is quite good. Malice was quite bad. They made Jack Whitehall a bad guy. Can you believe that? As in a negative role. It was just so weird to watch. And the other one I'm watching now is Last Samurai Standing on Netflix. That's been quite good as well.
Yeah, man, this is a good time for content, but I think that's it. We're done with the content. We'll just watch our weekly shows, because it's moving into 5th gear. We've been on pause, just treadling in 1st gear, and now there's midweek football every week until Jan, man. So we just got to keep plugging along.
Yep. Getting back to Nod. Nod also has an efficient anti-malware and anti-spyware protection tool. It highlights any attack and deletes it before it makes a mess of your computer. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/FPL Wire. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Sign up using the link in the description below. Right, boys. So let's get started, and let's start with the schedule first, because I think that's what I think we all need to keep in mind. And obviously this applies a little bit more for the next spot, but I think we just need to be prepared, and we need to contextualize this for our viewers, what they're going to be seeing now over the next few weeks. So I have this image up here from Lego Mane for you guys to visualize this. On game week 12, obviously we are coming after the international break. Now the midweek games for all the 9 teams in Europe. Interestingly, I think most of the teams are home this midweek, and then after that is when it gets interesting. Game week 14 is a midweek game week. That's between game week 13 and 15. And right after that, before game week 16, you have another round of Champions League games. Now this is interesting because bar Tottenham, 8 of the Premier League teams are all playing away on this match day. I found that quite interesting. Now, game week 17 serves as a bit of a divider, right? It's interesting because now before game week 17, you have most of the teams involved in Carabao Cup games. So that's when you'd expect they'd rotate a little bit. And the midweek after that, bar Arsenal and Palace, all teams have a free midweek. So I think up to game week 16, we sort of need to look at this now almost as a game within a game, especially keeping in mind those free transfers which we get in game week 17, because if you look at the period after 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, that's about 11 days, 4 games. I think that's even more manageable than the period we have between 12 to 16. That's potentially the most intense period, and we'll talk about the actual time between the games. But before that, I want to get your guys' views. What do you think on the schedule? Pras, you first.
I think I fully agree with this block theory, because not it's the transfers as well, right? So we have to almost ignore what happens after game week 16. And I mean, I say this every single year. This is like when you separate the engaged managers from the casual managers. You have to start thinking more than just, is this guy a good pick or not? You have to start thinking about how many starts are you expecting, how many minutes. So the threshold for picking a player, like at this point, if somebody brings me, in the old days of Martinelli, I'm like, nonsense. Like I'm not touching it. If any player is getting 70 minutes, 60 minutes in a period like normal period, in this period, that means there is a benching coming for those players. So I think within that, we have to then obviously understand team by team which are the players who are going to probably play every single week, or which are the players that are potentially in trouble. Injury prone players also becomes an issue. Like some players can have little niggles, then they just simply cannot play every single game. Saka and now Gabriel come into this thinking, maybe Enzo. So I think when we go team by team, I think I'll have a better view. But in terms of schedule, yeah, man, like we have to now manage this, and we'll have to also think about in that 13 to 15 period, the whole the Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday turnaround, which we will come to. I'm sure.
Lar?
Yeah, if you could just actually bring that up, while we're discussing that, immediately just give the listeners and viewers some context as well. If you could bring up the chart that Abhi sent us so kindly.
Before that, what I would just want to highlight now, if you've still got your triple captaincy and bench boost chip left, I think game week 17, in terms of the schedule, because of the spacing on either side, should be the week to play it, right?
17 or 13, I still don't mind 13. I reckon you might see 70, 75 minutes, but in terms of timelines, and we're talking about Haaland here as well, right? Because there's no other clear asset that has emerged in terms of triple captaincy. For Haaland, it's 13 or 17. 13, why I don't mind is I feel like how Leeds play and how they set up is also very conducive to brace or hat-trick potential for someone like Erling Haaland as well. So those are the two windows that we would look at.
The problem with 13 is the minutes I'm worried about. Let's say they go 3-0 up against Leeds by around the 60th minute, you'd expect Haaland to be taken off. But in 17, it's West Ham at home, and you expect him to be benched for that Brentford game prior to that.
Yeah.
But he could not be fit also. Like it's 17. Like it's the future, right? So we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we are going to discuss free hit windows as well, where 13 versus 16 is a criteria that we're going to discuss as well. But this is what both Pras and Zoph mentioned, which is quite important. And what you need to pay attention here is in the top 4 teams, look at Liverpool, Arsenal, and Chelsea. And what you need to do is look at game week 13. If you notice, in game week 13, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Chelsea have a game on the Sunday. Then midweek, they have a Premier League game on the Wednesday. And then again on Saturday, they have the Premier League game. So it's 3 games in a period of 6 days. This is rotation central. And then there is the interesting observation that Zoph made. And that all these 3 teams, when they move into UCL, the next midweek, it's traveling for them. Liverpool have to travel to Inter Milan. Arsenal have to travel to Bruges. Man City have a big tie against Madrid. Chelsea are also traveling. So this is a rotation nightmare, having a robust squad during this period. Trying to get minutes secure players, like Pras mentioned, is going to be very, very important. And even then, however robust you try playing, I think you just have to be prepared to get a benching or two and some couple of players playing 20, 30 odd minutes, I think.
So like you mentioned, I think game week 13, we should be fine. Most teams have had a rest, and there's a generous rest period for most of the teams you see at the top. They are in yellow. So for those guys wondering, yellow over here is 3 rest days. Red is 2 rest days, and gray is like you're greater than 3. It really doesn't matter beyond that point. So now you look at it, let's look at it team by team. Now Liverpool have West Ham on the Sunday, Sunderland, and then Leeds within the 6 days. And the interesting thing is the Inter Milan tie is also on the Tuesday. So like Chelsea and Liverpool have that in common. After playing on the Saturday, they have to play again on the Tuesday rather than on the Wednesday. So their schedules are really the most congested. And I'm expecting Maresca to do stupid shit in one of these games like he did last year. Bench all the players like he did, I think, against Southampton and Ipswich last year. Could it be Leeds? I think that's the game.
But it's away.
He did that Southampton away and Ipswich away also last season. Plus, he just does these things.
No, I mean, I think what you guys have said is probably the biggest takeaway of this. Like for Liverpool, Arsenal, and Chelsea, there is absolutely no chance that they have the same lineup in all the 3 games. Even 8 or 9 of these players cannot start all of these 3 games. Like it's just impossible. And it's specifically the Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday turnaround. And for Liverpool, as you said, it's even worse. So, if we are taking team by team, like don't go near Gakpo or Ekitike or Wirtz or Isak. Like it's just not worth it. You'll simply be burnt because one of those games they'll miss. You can get lucky. They can brace in the game they play. But if you're going to play with the expectation, the base assumption that more minutes equals more points, then yeah, that's your one takeaway. If you're going Liverpool, it's your Szoboszlai, your Salah, and your Van Dijk, and maybe Konate. I think even Bradley doesn't work in this kind of a tough schedule.
Absolutely, you'd expect Sobo to play 1 game at right back over there.
Or even Frimpong if he's back by then.
And even then, right, I feel like let's say if Slot is planning his teams for this period, because managers will do that in terms of what lineups he wants, etc. There's also sort of game state that comes into play where we could get lucky, which you can't predict for. Like, for example, if Liverpool are 2-0 up or 3-0 up in the 60th minute against West Ham, they could see 5 of their first team players get subs so that they're fresh for the next game and then they start. But that is something on a game to game basis and a game state to game state basis where you can't predict which players those early subs, etc., will come for as well.
So let's spend some time talking team by team. I think like Pras mentioned for Liverpool, I think the main investable asset, keeping the schedule in mind, I think in attack becomes Salah. To an extent, Sobo, I think keeping in mind, but there's also the 4 yellow cards you expect whenever he gets that, that's sort of going to be his rest anyway. So you can sort of pre-plan that to an extent. And I think like you mentioned, he can't go near the fullback. So there's pretty much, I think, just 3 investable assets now in Liverpool, keeping the schedule in mind. Would you guys agree?
Yeah. And even when it comes to Salah, right? Like, I would have thought maybe that he maybe gets a rest and Frimpong starts in the first 60 minutes in one of these games. But I would have been way more confident of that if Salah wasn't going to AFCON. If Salah's going to AFCON, Slot is going to, get whatever he can out of Salah and then let him go. There's one other thing also when it comes to Mo Salah, which is quite important, is that Egypt now have a friendly schedule, which is a week earlier to AFCON. And from what I've read, Egypt want to field a really strong team for this friendly. So right now, the Egyptian FA is negotiating with City and Liverpool for Marmoush and Mo Salah. But there is a chance that Mo Salah might even have to leave early and he misses Gameweek 15 even.
But that's unlikely, Like, clubs have way higher power. You remember what we did with Onana last year?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
He missed actually the first AFCON game. We were like, no, he has to play on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying that this
and
news
Cameroon
is
were
emerged.
grateful for it.
And everybody was.
Yeah.
Can you, what wild times?
Yeah.
So I think it's one to monitor for sure. I think that some players could leave earlier, but I think on the balance, I just wanted to say it's likelier that Liverpool are going to say, go back where you came from. There's no chance Salah's leaving before Gameweek 16.
More importantly, Salah calls the shots. I think if Salah wants to play, Salah plays. And in fact, on the other end, Manchester United have actually made a request to have Mbeumo available for Gameweek 17. That's a Villa game.
Yep. Exactly. So we'll see what transpires there. Just another thing also, right? When you're trying to assess these things and trying to sort of see what happens, it's also the matchups that maybe you need to have a look at. Like, for example, Liverpool plays Sunderland in Gameweek 14 after a 2-day break. Whereas Sunderland, they play Liverpool after a much longer break, a 3 or 4 day break. So when it comes to such short periods, I remember Scout used to do those articles back in the day, if you remember, where it used to be a matchup of
Neil does it always. Opponents.
40 hours versus 70 hours. So where can we try getting the matchups, etc. as well? So, when we're trying to assess clean sheet odds, etc., fixture difficulty, these rest periods tend to add up and they actually do dictate the results in terms of, fresher team versus unfresh team. But now squads are deeper, so that might not impact as much.
Liverpool, the advantage they do have, though, they play PSV. Is potentially one of the easier matchups compared to all of the other teams. Newcastle play Marseille, Chelsea, Barcelona, Man City, Leverkusen, Arsenal, Bayern. PSV is potentially the easiest tie you see of the lot over here.
I agree.
So I think that's a good point, that next week, midweek, you will be able to make a much better prediction in terms of minutes for the block of 3. That you can say, okay, if Timber has not played Bayern Munich, then you can say, okay, it's pretty likely he plays all the 3 games. If he plays 90 minutes, you can say perhaps there's a chance. It's not a guarantee, obviously, that he misses 1 game, because it will be unlikely that he plays 4 in a row. So I think by mid next week, if you are interested in a minutes risky player, and this is a big spectrum of whose minutes risk, Gakpo versus a slightly higher likelihood to a Timber, which is lower likelihood, you can make these decisions next week, which is a better week to predict the minutes over the block of 3, 13 to 15.
Should we move to Arsenal?
Yes.
And it's interesting that you mentioned Timber, because prior to the Gabriel injury, I was actually contemplating selling him, because I saw a benching coming for that Brentford home game. Potentially, because obviously they're going to play the first team against Tottenham. You'd expect a very strong team against Bayern, similarly against Chelsea. And the Chelsea turnaround is also quite generous. You can afford to play your first teamers there. Then the Brentford one is what you'd expect. Maybe you throw Ben White in there. But now with Gabriel injured and he's going to miss that one, you'd expect some rotation at left back anyway. Calafiori has been carrying some sort of injury. So how many guys in the back four is he going to change? not too many, right? You can't change the entire back four. You can't play Hincapi, Skelly, and Ben White against Brentford, who are a very competent team in the air. So I think Timber's X minutes have potentially gone up because of the Gabriel injury. LR, would you agree?
Yeah, and I also think there's a matchup thing to it, right? Like I wouldn't like thinking carte blanche that because of the rotation and rest, Timber is going to be benched in game week 14. Like managers will also see that like Brentford is a big team. You need somebody who's a big guy who's going to be good on set pieces, who's going to be good at defending those set pieces and those long throws as well. So you need a physically robust defender. So if you're thinking just matchups, I would much rather have a Timber compared to a Ben White in that Brentford game specifically, right? Maybe there's an argument to be made that Ben White, for example, suits a Chelsea game more than a Brentford game because of the physicality, right? And these are things that only Arteta knows and thinks about. So, it's a little difficult to predict them. It could be one of those games, but I just don't see somebody like Timber missing a Brentford game because of the physicality, because I think that's also a factor.
Russ, your thoughts?
I agree with this. Gabriel injury, I think, is a net positive because of the fact of he doesn't want to throw a whole second string team. And which is why I think for somebody like a Timber, the Bayern Munich game will tell me what I need to know. Like if you're a Timber owner, just pray that he's taken off on the 60th minute or doesn't start the Bayern game, because then you know that in the next three, he's basically protecting him to play all the three going forward. So that's what I would say. I think the other thing, this is not as much a talked about thing. I used to hate it as a Man U fan when Arsenal was the main competitor. They don't have to travel a lot. Like even in the away games, if you look, Spurs at home, Bayern Munich at home, London, then where is it? Chelsea, London, Brentford,
Emirates,
again, Villa, Birmingham, 2 hours away. So actually, there's not a lot of travel here. So even though the rest periods are smaller, you are essentially sleeping in your own bed pretty much every evening, or your general routine is not disrupted as much as a Liverpool who goes to West Ham. That's a longer travel. So it's just another thing to keep in mind. Although even for Liverpool, Leeds away is not very far.
So again, looking
also,
at
one other thing.
Go ahead.
One other thing I want to mention with Arsenal is they're sitting on a full slot of points in the Champions League, 12 out of 12, sitting second. So they're sitting pretty comfortable. Whereas if you're thinking about the league position, City are breathing down their neck. If you ask me, there's much more comfort and breathing space in the Champions League compared to the league as well. Like
that's what I mean.
Arteta knows what to expect from Pep, and City are you know that they're sensing blood. And traditionally, City in the last 5 years have won their title twice in the November-December period. They're the kings of this period. They do really well in this period as well. So I think Arteta is going to be very mindful of that when resting key players in the league.
Yes. I think that's a good point you make about Man City breathing down their neck. But that being said, I think he will go first choice against Bayern. It's a very marquee game for them. You don't bench players against Bayern Munich necessarily.
I understand, but it's like what matters, right? They need to finish in the top 8 in the Champions League. Like they have enough of a cushioning to do that. If the team, maybe they play a low intensity game, etc. That's what those sort of things also come into play. It's being a marquee fixture. Simply put, Chelsea away still matters more than Bayern at home in the league, just because of the position.
Agree.
Yeah.
So talking about,
we are only sorry, Zoph, we're only crystal balling probabilities here. Sports science dictates these things, right? I mean, one physio comes and says, Timber is, he's at the edge, guys. Like, if he's going to play more minutes, he's going to get injured. So then he has no choice. It doesn't matter what is the game's, he will have to either take him off earlier or do something. And that can happen to anybody. But it's the fullbacks who have a very demanding role as well. This is why I feel like, people sitting on 5 centre backs right now are slightly happier because those are less demanding roles. Minutes are more predictable, and pretty much Timber is the only fullback a lot of people are invested, or Calafiori. Other than that, and Munoz, I guess, but those are different cases.
Also, I'll just add, while we're comparing Calafiori versus Timber, right? I feel like Timber just feels like a much better pick in this period compared to Calafiori, even though Calafiori looks like the more attacking one. Because simply put, Calafiori's gotten his rest in the Champions League in the first 11 weeks, whereas Timber has just played like a robust guy week on week. He's playing Gabriel level minutes in terms of he just doesn't ever get benched except for one game. And even when it comes to the subs, right, Calafiori gets hooked in the 65th, 70th, 75th minute multiple occasions. Timber plays the full 90. I think it just tells us about the robustness of a player when we're trying to assess it. So I would be a little more wary of, and the replacement. So I'd be a little more wary of Calafiori, not so much Timber. I think Max maybe misses one game in this period.
And definitely carrying an injury. You don't pull out of the Italy squad if you're absolutely, completely fine to play.
Yep.
Now, looking at other investable assets, obviously Rice is going to play every minute. There's no risk over there. You're not going to invest necessarily on the left wing. Eze minutes might be shared a little bit with Martinelli and Trossard on that side. Now, let's talk about Saka. From what I've heard, Madueke has played a training game behind closed doors over this international break. He's going to be back in the squad now around game week 12-13. Do you expect him to start over Saka or just eat into his minutes, Pras? I'm thinking more the latter.
I think the latter as well. But with Saka, it's the thing, right? One game he has a little bit of a limp, and then you're just confused whether he starts or not. But I think on the balance, like he's got the energy, right? He got this rest against which game did they play? Albania, I think, the England game. So he didn't start that one. So I think he's all right, and he's one of the nailed guys. But in this period, people who've played FPL, no one is nailed. Haaland is not nailed. Salah is not nailed to start every single game. There is too many reds here to say that with conviction.
I think Arteta probably, if he's trying to plan this also, right, is probably thinking he's hoping 1 or 2 games, maybe the Brentford game or the Villa game, he gets to get Saka off in the 60th, 70th minute when they're leading. Otherwise, I see that Bruges game as the rest for Saka.
But even Rice missed, I think, the West Ham game. So it's not like Rice has not missed a game. He's been rotated as well.
Yeah.
Anything else on Arsenal?
No, and this is just schedule, right? Like I just want to tell the listeners, this will qualitatively talk about and analyze and debate the picks in a future section when we're talking about Gabriel replacement, such and such.
Absolutely. Correct. The main idea is to raise flags about certain players who you own and you're looking to buy. Like for example, now since you're moving to Man City, O'Reilly is somebody I'm really tempted by, but just looking at this schedule and the fact that Ait Nouri is still around means I'm not going there until at least maybe game week 15 or game week 16 at the earliest. Do you guys agree?
TBD. So he's one that has been on my mind a lot, like genuinely a lot. Just spent last night watching the extended highlights for the last 5 Man City games, and he's genuinely really, really good as well. Like we'll talk about him when the City schedule comes. But Ait Nouri has been fit for like 3 or 4 weeks and just comes on and plays the last 5 minutes. Like Nico Rally doesn't get subbed. He started 7 out of the last 8, playing 85 plus minutes in every single game. And even if you see how Arteta talks about him, like it's very, very good. It's just that if you are free hitting in 13, you can afford to wait until game week 15, which is when the road sort of clears up. But I just foresee a world in which game week 15, O'Reilly becomes a template popular pick for everybody to jump on because Ait Nouri moves to AFCON then. And then the road's clear for him.
So listen, Nessie to O'Reilly, I think will be a very popular move in 15 or maybe even 16.
Yep.
But then again with Man City, the Doku has been putting his hand up. You see Foden also looking to be playing his way sort of back into form. But again, not really any investable picks besides Haaland given the schedule.
Nah, man. Man City is difficult to predict in games where it's not midweek Premier League games. But when you add that, Cherki's not going to start the 3 of the 13, 14, 15. Doku's not going to start 13. Doku could, but his output is not the same. Just because he got returns in the last game doesn't mean we have seen he plays minutes, but he does hold width a lot. His job is to create width and then, dribble and then create a opening for somebody else. So, they're better picks.
So see, with Man City, right, what my perception is I think motivation and form wise, currently probably best team in the league at the moment in terms of just what they're sensing and what they're going to get out there. So like if we show some courage at some point, I don't know when that point is, because if we're free hitting in game week 13, then we have some time to wait and test the waters out and see where we want to go, because they play the toughest, one of the top 3 toughest away games of the season in game week 12, and then there's a free hit opportunity in game week 13. So you have a time to assess and test the waters. But I think there's an opportunity with a couple of picks. I feel like Foden's being played as first choice for quite a while now. He's a robust pick if we want to go there. Cherki is an output guy. We've seen in 2 small games that he's capable of output. And again, what I like about Cherki and what I like about O'Reilly is their prime competitors go to AFCON. So if not now in game week 15, there's an opportunity maybe to jump on them for a while Marmoush and Ait Nouri are in AFCON. And then there's O'Reilly. I actually think O'Reilly, there's a chance, if we see enough proof in the next 2 games, might be hitting Timber status in terms of maybe getting benched 1 in 7-8 games. I think he still has that position as well, but he's just made that position his own. And if you notice, traditionally how Pep likes to play his teams, he's hit his winning formula now. which are talking about like narrow wingers and then having these wing backs. If he talks about O'Reilly, he talks about him playing either wide or as an 8 or a 10. He takes up a lot of positions, and these are complex positions. He doesn't really rotate too much when he's found somebody there. So I think there's a case to be made for either O'Reilly or Nunes, which I'll talk about when we talk about the Gabriel replacements.
Another thing to also note on Man City, and this appeals for the game week 13 free hit, is the period between Leverkusen and Leeds is quite generous. So you'd expect a fairly full strength team against Leeds, and that again, as we mentioned, is the early kickoff. I mean, not the early kickoff, it's the first kickoff, because I think game week 13, there's no 12:30 game. So there is a chance we get some lineup leaks for that one. To keep that in mind. Now let's talk about Chelsea. Anything else on Man City?
No, that's good.
Yep. So now Chelsea, now the schedule is interesting in the sense we have the early kickoff now against Burnley this Saturday, and then Barcelona at home on the Tuesday. Then the rest period to Arsenal is quite generous. So I don't think he's going to go too crazy against Burnley. Some people were worried about Enzo potentially not starting that, Joao Pedro not starting that. Maybe Joao Pedro because of the whole Brazil thing, but I do think we will go fairly full strength, maybe take a few players off, because you need to get some rhythm, get some cohesion back after the international break, right? You can't just afford to mass rotate right then. So I think we'll be fine.
Also, the Brazil thing is not really a thing because they're here. They played at the Emirates and they're in France, like the second game. Yeah.
So that's not as much of an
issue. Which you went for, by the way. Just letting the listeners know as well. Yeah.
Casemiro is so good.
So the Arsenal game, I think obviously full strength, and that's why I mentioned either the Leeds or the Bournemouth fixture. He's going to do some random shit with the back line in the midfield, because I think he's been given a clear directive by the medical department to protect players. That's what we saw with Enzo. Remember that game away to Forest where he potentially could have played, but now he's been told to err on the side of caution after what happened to Palmer. So I think this is the period in between, let's say, after Arsenal, that is either against Leeds or against Bournemouth. And if you ask me which game he's going to rotate more, I would say Leeds, because Bournemouth are a tough opponent who have troubled us, because you also have to keep in mind there's Atalanta on the Tuesday. So effectively look at that again from Sunday to Wednesday to Saturday to Tuesday. That's essentially 4 games in the space of 8 days. It's the most congested schedule you can potentially have. So this is when you really need to watch out for your Chelsea players, I think. After the Arsenal fixture, you should really be concerned about Enzo's minutes. I'm expecting a benching against Leeds or Bournemouth. Do you agree, Pras?
Chelsea players should be dead to us after Burnley.
I
generally think so.
Because in the back line, even somebody like a Kukurea, I think the minutes are going to be managed similarly and in general, the whole back line is going to be a lot less robust, because he can't, right now he's arrived on Chalobah and Fofana as a clear first choice centre back pairing. He can't play those guys every game now. He's going to see random Akiampong thrown in, maybe Disasi thrown in, Hato randomly. And that just is going to unsettle the backline and the defense in general. Be interesting to see how he integrates Palmer into this, because there's rumors that Palmer might make the squad for Burnley. But let's say he even starts Barcelona and Arsenal. He probably won't start Leeds or Bournemouth then.
Dude, actually, speaking of Chelsea, where have you... Estevao... He's so good, man.
So good.
Like, you watch a little bit on the Premier League and whatever. We were sitting on the wing where he was playing. He's unreal, man. When is he going to start playing consistently?
I mean, Danny was in our chat, if you remember, when he came on the pod when he spoke to Zoph. He said, and every Chelsea fan I've spoken to, they predicted Estevao to be the part of that starting lineup come December. Like, in terms of hype, he was in the line of Neymar, Vinicius Jr., and the next big kid was supposed to be Endrick.
Vinicius was on the pitch. Estevao was on the pitch. You cannot compare the amount the Brazilians were shouting when Estevao had the ball. Like, it's incredible. The hype is so good. I mean, I knew he's good, but I actually, when I was at the game, I appreciated it. Like, it is. So is there a chance he starts? Because I said Chelsea players are dead to us, but if he's starting, that guy is good, man. Like, he can be in the team.
There's a start or two coming, but there's also a benching or two.
Exactly. Jazzy was constantly asking me to ask Zoph about Estevao because he wants to punt there. like if one of Garnacho, Estevao or Neto got injured, I think there's genuine picks on either wings. Like, Garnacho is also turning himself into a little bit of an output merchant in terms of the chances he's getting. The thing is that he will rotate the 3 of them and manage the minutes.
Anything else to add on Chelsea, guys? We'll just round up the other teams very quick.
Quick question to you, Zoph, because a lot of people will be in this position, like me. Are you expecting managed minutes for Enzo against Burnley? Because a lot of us can't get to a Bruno United midfielder unless we sell Enzo Fernandez. So what's your answer there? Sell Enzo if you're expecting managements and get the United midfielder.
That's what I'm looking to do. Move Enzo to Boomo this week. Though I do think Enzo will start this one. I expect him to be taken off around 60-70 because the Barcelona game is quite close. It's a Tuesday. And he has been managing this knee problem for a while. So I don't think you can afford to bench Enzo altogether and then play him straight at Barcelona because Burnley isn't as an easy a fixture as we think it is.
I mean, it could still be 30 minutes, right?
Could be.
It can't.
But we need to see what comments he says on Friday, and maybe we get some sort of indication on Saturday. But I think a start versus Burnley is more likely than not.
Even if it's the start versus Burnley, like I don't think Burnley away is a easy fixture.
Yeah, you're not like he can be sold, but he can also be held. Like, I think it's okay if you wanted to fund it, especially because Delap is fit, right? And so it's not Enzo's going to play his 8. Now it doesn't matter too much. He still got chances when he was playing 8. But it's not like you're selling Saka before Burnley, right? I mean, it's Enzo. It's okay.
Yeah. If your only path is selling Enzo, I think do it because I'd much rather definitely hold Sar. So that's the debate.
Yeah. I think
a lot of managers are in this position.
Yeah, even if you move Enzo to Sar, I think that's a more consistent upgrade in terms of minutes you're going to get over the next few weeks. Because in terms of the Palace players, we can quickly touch upon them. Munoz was called up for Colombia. He didn't play the first game and returned home due to personal reasons prior to the second game. So the 0 minutes for Munoz over the international break. I think Mateta started 1 game for France. And I think Senegal, Sarr, just played in a friendly that was also in London. So the minutes have been good for Palace.
I was at.
Exactly.
I saw him. He trolled me again. Blanked.
And Richards was left out completely of the squad. So Palace have actually had a very good rest this IB.
Yeah. Also worth noting though, because Glasner has mentioned that he's managing minutes when it comes to Richards. So it does seem like he's carrying something, etc. And Gehi's replacement, I forgot his name, who came in for the last game, did really
Canva.
I don't remember the name. He did really well as well.
Yeah.
So there could be one random benching for Richards, I think, in the future if minutes are getting managed.
Newcastle, they have a better schedule than most teams, but I don't think right now in terms of attack, there's any pick we're really looking at. It's primarily just their defense.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just look at the fixtures and I feel like, man, do I need to sell Voltemade? But it's my only way to fund United midfielders at the moment. So I feel like
because red hot for Germany, scored 3 in 2 games.
Man.
Yeah, we'll talk about Germany. I think you can still potentially keep Voltemade and get United made, but obviously you have to convert Gabriel to a cheaper guy. And there's a lot to unpack in the Gabriel section in terms of strategy. So let's not overlap that. Anything else in terms of the schedule? Yeah. I think we've covered most of it.
Man United, nice schedule.
Man United, very good nice schedule. Exactly. Worth noting that that's an advantage because you're expecting all the picks that you're looking at, especially now that a certain Sesko is expected to be out for the next 3 or 4 weeks. I think you're expecting 80 plus minutes non-stop for Bruno, Boomo, Cunha, whichever of the 3 you're looking at. You're getting a significant stream of constant 80 plus minutes. No need to worry about minutes there.
Yeah, because I'm glad you mentioned
getting a Monday game.
Yeah, because you're getting Sunday, Wednesday, Monday. So there's actually not a single red for Manchester United. Yeah. Very fortunate in terms of the schedule.
It also just not the thing, right? It also adds up in terms of performance. Unfortunately, there's no run against any of the top teams. I think it would be a good time to meet one of the top teams if they're in a fixture congestion schedule.
And in general, I think that's a macro point. The teams who are not playing in Europe and even out of the Carabao, I think they have an advantage during this period. This is when we really see that fatigue accumulation come in. Because we are about 10 to 11 game weeks now. The freshness has gone. The players are carrying injuries and niggles now.
Exactly.
Move on to the free hit discussion, guys. Anything to add here?
No, good job on the schedule. I think it was just important to bring to everybody's attention.
Now we don't need to
Abhi's
talk
in the
about
chat
it
as well.
Shout out to Abhi.
Thank you, Abhi.
Graphic. He also stays in Chennai, by the way. It's been raining cats and dogs today.
Yeah. If at all you want to follow him, it's @ABHII_G7.
Fantastic work, Abhi. We wanted to have the free hit discussion for you guys this pod, even though we are looking at the free hits most likely in the later weeks, because I think it's important to frame your transfers going forward. So a lot of these images are taken.
You can also free hit this week, Zoph.
Can, but again, let's just list the pros and cons.
Zoph, not Zoph. Gabriel is out for a week. Semenyo's out for a week. Enzo's out for a week. Like, I was thinking more and more, why are people not talking about free hit 12? But sorry, I interject.
No problem. We'll weigh up the pros and cons of every week, but I just wanted to give credit to All About FPL. where I've taken most of these images from. So what they've listed here in the first graphic is now all the weeks now leading up to the change of the year, game week 19, the top 5 attack in each week and the top 5 defense in each week. Now, if you look at 12 and 14, right, I think most of these teams we're already invested in. Your Arsenal, Chelsea, Bournemouth. Similarly, like, over here in defense-wise, Arsenal, we're going to get some Van Dijk, most likely you have an Anderson, a Senesi. And if you look good in 12, the fixtures are very similar in 14. It's all the same teams that are repeating themselves. So in general, if you can put out a good team in 12, you're all right in 14. 13 is an interesting one because, again, Man City, like we mentioned, we only have Haaland. They're the early kickoff that week. Brentford have Burnley at home. They're second for XG at home this season. They're averaging nearly 2 XG a game. Villa are generally strong at home. Palace play Manchester United. In defense, again, Man City, Brentford, Villa, we don't have any of these guys. Bournemouth, I don't agree as much. They're away to Sunderland, whether they should really be there. But again, Liverpool are playing West Ham, was still very quite poor defending set pieces. So again, I think 14 doesn't appeal that much. 15, what's interesting is most of us are going to rock up in 15 with transfers we want to use, right? So ultimately, you don't want to necessarily free hit that week because free hit will count as one transfer. You'll be burning a few transfers in that sense. Now, 16 is the next week that appealed to me. Now, you see Arsenal have played Wolves. Liverpool, I think that week also have a good fixture. Brighton. Brentford play Leeds. Chelsea play Everton. So what you're getting over here, they're good teams. And this week, what happens is Man City are away to Palace. Now, if you ask me, of all the away fixtures which Man City have, that's 12, that's Newcastle away, 14 Fulham away, and 16 Palace away. Would you guys agree that Palace away is potentially the most difficult one? Which week would you guys be most comfortable leaving Haaland out? LR?
0 weeks.
Okay, least comfortable. Like
on a free hit, come on. Like, you can pick Salah over Haaland 1 week, come on.
Currently, my answer is 0 weeks. I feel like when it just carte blanche, I think that should not be a consideration when you're looking at free hit, because any week that I look at right now, like in Game Week 16, Palmer needs to be fit for me to consider and fit and firing for me to consider leaving somebody like Haaland right now. Because in terms of just FPL assets and their predictability and potential right now, Haaland's here and like the rest are right here. Like there's a big gap in terms of just anybody else who comes close to Mr. Erling Haaland at the moment in terms of FPL potential, because nobody else is performing to that level. So that shouldn't be a decision
I'm
factor.
going to disagree with this.
Yeah, but if you're pushing me to push comes to shove, I would say Game Week 16 against Palace.
Pras?
I just think there is no week here that free hit is an obvious week.
Right.
Like there is just literally, you can make a case any week you can get on those players and it's just very limited value. In fact, I would go as far as saying there is a threat that when you free hit, you'll get negative points on free hit. And that is a very, very viable threat because like I said, idiots like me won't have Haaland on their free hit and then Haaland scores a hat-trick. So it's possible. But what you're saying is what is your risk profile and what you want to do with the free hit? For me, I want to get Salah. I want to use the free hit for captaincy, and this goes into something we talked about 2 weeks ago. I want to use the free hit to get a captain that I don't have to maximize the potential for getting lucky. So this week is a good week. A lot of people will not be captaining Haaland. Maybe they will, but a lot of your favorite content creators may not be captaining Haaland. Some may, but this is a good week. If you wanted to captain Salah, you can. But unfortunately, there's also Saka. There's also Man United picks that you can also captain viable. I think 14 is another week. 14 when he's away to Fulham. Now that is out of all the three, Newcastle, Fulham and Crystal Palace, I would argue that's the easiest away for Haaland. So it would be tougher to go against him. But the advantage is it's a midweek. So in the midweek, if you can have, a chance of reduced minutes for Haaland, if you can have a chance for some other rotations which you can predict, let's say somebody gets a niggle, a popular player like Saka, and then you can take Saka out, you can take Haaland out, your free hit 14 team could look very good. So that's why the windows I'm looking at are 12, 14 and 16 because those are the three tough weeks for Haaland. And I may still have Haaland on the free hit, but I want to get the captain that nobody has. And the captain for that...
If you can still have the Haaland on the free hit, like you can still captain anybody else in any of those weeks, right? Like it's something you can practice as a thing that you want to do, betting against the insured captain in any of those weeks, irrespective, right?
You can, which you will do. Like I will do. I will 99% not captain Haaland this week. But is it worth a free hit? Because I think Saka and a Man United mid is probably equally good as a Salah, and we live in that world unfortunately right now where you are not sure that you can back Salah against Forest, which you would have if it was Ange and more people would be talking about it. But I think in 14, Liverpool are home to Sunderland. And there'll be nobody on Liverpool. And let's say in game week 13, Isak has started and Wirtz has started on the left. Why not go Gakpo and Ekitike and Salah on your free hit home to Sunderland? And this is nothing against Sunderland. I'm just using an example. Sunderland are a good team. So that's what I'm trying to say. I think there are opportunities in 12, 14 and 16 to get a really good free hit week. Risks are every week, every single week. The other thing is, let me tell you players, right? Every single free hit week, you'll have Haaland, you'll have Arsenal defense, you'll have Semenyo, you'll have, maybe everybody will have Van Dijk by then. There are other picks that I'm forgetting. Maybe a Man United mid, pretty much on your free hit and not on your free hit. So where are your gains? So all I'm trying to say is I'm trying to find an edge in the gains by finding a week where either Haaland is league to not start, or a week like game week 14 or game week 16 where you can take Haaland on.
It's just that, see, I understand the Haaland captaincy conversation, but this is just proactive debating. If you're looking at game week 14, for example, right, and sorting them on the scout ticker page by difficulty. Easiest fixture on paper, United versus West Ham. You'll probably have 1 or 2 United midfielders by that time. Second fixture is Forest versus Wolves. We ignore that. Third fixture is Crystal Palace versus Burnley. Most of us are sitting on double, if not triple Palace players. Then you have Bournemouth versus Everton at home. Most of us are sitting on Semenyo plus Senesi, for example. So the only real fixture that you're sort of taking advantage of is Liverpool versus Sunderland in that game. I understand that nobody else
16 is my favorite at the moment. So I should have started with that. 16 is my favorite at the moment.
Which
and
is
16
a good
also allows you
option
to get off Chelsea and Arsenal. Now you will say, why do you want to get off Arsenal? Arsenal are a good team. Well, Gabriel is injured. You don't have to get a third. Now you're reducing your Arsenal coverage. So if you take 16 out, where Arsenal are home to Wolves, actually the fixtures are okay. You don't have to have double or triple defense. They're great. I understand Arsenal defense is great, but so are other teams. And maybe you can take money out, get a better midfielder. There's lots of things you can do. So if you are 0 Chelsea, 2 Arsenal, and you want to take on Haaland, 16 works really well from that point of view. And 16 also works. I like it because you go through the 13, 14, 15 period. You watch. Did Haaland start all those games? Okay, he's league to start. Or there was no league that he's not starting. You watch that period. And then 16, if nothing happened and you didn't get to use it, then play it in 16.
There's also another advantage of using it in 16. Now, let's say the likes of Boomo and Sar you have in your team. You don't want to sell them in 16. You might arrive in 16. What do I use a transfer? After my 5, because you'll be obviously burning a lot of transfers in 15. You might end up in 16 that the only transfer I want to use is to sell my AFCON guy. So that's not a good idea that week. You want to sell them in 17 instead. So that buys you that one additional week to do that. And also another guys you mentioned in terms of transition, Brighton. I know you've been eyeing up Minte. They are away to Liverpool that week. Apart from that, the fixtures are great. I think 18 they have Arsenal away, which is not fantastic. But I get the appeal in that sense.
It's just that there is a transfer that everybody is going to probably make in game week 16, which you will have the time to make a transfer for anyway. And that is because all of us are sitting on Mateta, Haaland, and Guiu, for example, or cheap striker. And Thiago's run absolutely starts, which is a beautiful run in game week 16. So all of us are going to make that midfielder bottom striker double move in game week 16. It's one of the likelier transfers in that move because you're going to get a striker. So it's not like we won't have transfers to use in game week 16 also.
Absolutely. This is the point I wanted to make from this graphic. A lot of the guys you are buying on free hit in 16 potentially have actually good fixtures for the weeks after. You're going to want to buy Thiago, not just on a free hit. You're going to want Thiago in 17 as well. Let's say Anderson. Game week 16, good fixtures after Arsenal. I know you mentioned plus fixtures aren't great, but they also have 3 home games in the next 4 leading up to that. So there are good fixtures. Even against Liverpool, for example. Liverpool, the run, if you ask me, the really good games are these Wolves at home and Leeds at home. They're actually better, I think, than your Leeds away, Sunderland at home, and Forest at home. These are the real money games around 18 to 19, and this will be a Salah-less period. You might have a more nailed attacker you can pick. So this is, I think, has been sort of the dividing thing for me between game week 16 and 13. And also let's talk about the teams who have the difficult fixtures, right? In game week 13. Now we're looking at, most of us have now, let's say 3 Arsenal. Maybe we'll go down to 2 Arsenal. Arsenal are away to Chelsea that week. However poor we've been defensively, I think we will give Arsenal a game. It's not the ideal fixture. Bournemouth have Sunderland away, which on paper is a good fixture, but may not be. We've seen Sunderland have been quite good on their own patch. We're looking to buy a Man United midfielder this week. Palace away. not a great fixture again in that sense. So I think in terms of the players we have who have the bad fixture, and you mentioned this right at the start of the season, the free hit is not about the points within that week alone, it's also about the either side of it. In that sense, game week 13, especially for my team, and I think most of the template teams out there, makes sense in terms of the players that you have all have bad fixtures, or not say bad, more difficult fixtures. For example, I might have 5 players in the Palace game. I might have something like 3 or 4 players in the Chelsea game. Having so many players in just 2 or 3 matches doesn't really scream a very high point ceiling to me.
Yeah. Also, there's one other point that I want to make outside of the fixtures is that which team has the highest upside, in my opinion, outside of popular teams like Arsenal, Liverpool, and United?
Man City.
It's Man City, for example. And I think having a free run at 2 Man City picks in Game Week 13 does count for a lot in general. And I also think I would like to, if you ask me, I am more scared of not owning somebody like a Salah in Game Week 13 compared to Game Week 14. Because Sunderland are legit, man. Sunderland are not the kind of team that are going to give away chances. They're sitting 4th for XGC, 4th for goals conceded, etc. If you saw Ligris's interview, he's like, my players die to keep clean sheets. They're that sort of a siege mentality going on in that club at the moment, right? So I actually think that X crumble factor is slightly greater with a West Ham compared to Sunderland, for example. That's why I like having Salah plus 2 extra City picks, because there's a good chance we get leaks for Leeds at home. And out of all the fixtures, the juiciest fixture for Manchester City, if you ask me, is Leeds at home, where I would like Haaland plus O'Reilly plus either Foden or Shirky as a punt in that game.
And the investable assets at Brentford too, besides Thiago, look at Schade, his numbers for NPXG are good. They also have Coyote and Collins. They offer something in defense. So there are investable players. With Villa, it's difficult to pinpoint an attacker, but you can still back their defense at home against Wolves. So I think you could, and these are not guys you'd normally be investing in. I won't be buying Cash or Dean, Martinez, Schade, maybe even Gibbs White is somebody I can look at that week.
And also generally, right, if you're thinking about outcomes in terms of what happens in the next 4 days, if in the next 4 days we sort of get the understanding that Gabriel's timeline is very short term and we can expect him to be back in a week, 10 days or so, then all of us want to hold him. We don't want to sell the second best asset in the game. Then it just becomes easier to free hit in Game Week 13, hold Gabriel for that period, and
That's
then play
the
Game
biggest
Week 4.
plus. That's the biggest plus of FPL 13.
I don't entirely agree with that though, so guys, because ultimately, see what's going to happen. We are going to be relying on somebody like Ornstein or a journalist to give us a clear timeline. You're not going to get anything from Arteta on Gabriel. It's going to be potentially back next game, and the value of a transfer now has diminished because you have to use these transfers by 15. You can buy Gabriel back 15 or 16. Maybe you lose 0.1, 0.2 on him, but potentially leaving that spot dead when you could make up the points maybe with the Van Dijk instead. Maybe you could make up the points by upgrading Enzo to a Bumo instead. I think if Gabriel is confirmed out for this weekend, you just assume that he's going to miss this next period, because even if he is fit, guys, 3 games in a 7 to 8 days with a groin injury, he's not going to start him in all 3.
I don't know. Like, I firstly don't think
Pras, you are cutting out. I think you're muted.
Yeah. Go for it. No,
I just think I was just like, we don't know the extent of the injury, and based on nothing, I don't think it might be that great. Like, I feel like it just could be a non-conversation by the time Friday comes. So we'll only know when it comes, and then we'll discuss on the team selection.
I guess, but that's my point. I'm not going to get clarity on that. If he says now, if he trains tomorrow, he might play. What are you going to do?
I'll hold. I'll free hit in 13 because
and sell him in 14 if he's not available for that.
Then I'll take a call. It's okay to delay the decision also by a week, right? Because from a personal standpoint, I am 60% leaning towards a free hit 13 anyway. So it suits my interest to sort of hold him and hope that he's fit by the time Game Week 14 opens. But obviously you have an open mind and see what Arteta says. But it is one of those things that I'm using as confirmation bias to free hit in 13 anyway, which is the opportunity to hold on to Gabriel, for example.
I get it. I get what you guys are saying, but in my opinion, just with this congestion and so many games in mind, I think Gabriel's a sell for me. You buy him back around 15 and 16, because again, period of 2 weeks out is essentially going to be 3 to 4 game weeks out. Yeah. And I don't see him being back for this weekend from what I've read about the injury. And of course, I'm not a doctor. We expect a minimum of 2 weeks out.
That also we don't have clarity on it. At one point
We
it was
don't.
groin, and then the other
Now
point
it's
was
knee
knee. So
or
we don't.
whatever.
Yeah. So I guess this
I
is
mean,
a bit of
I
a
would say one thing on the free hit is it's like I said, it's so close, all these options. It could be like two players you have from one team make one free hit better than the other. So I think the best way to look at a free hit is look at your team, roll it forward to game week 13 and or 16, and then make a free hit draft. Make a game week 13 free hit draft. Like personally speaking, when I made that draft, because you have to have Haaland and Salah in that team, I was questioning, will my main team actually, is it worse or better than my main team? Because I have Saka. You won't be able to have Saka in 13. You won't be able to have, a Man United mid. I still think Crystal Palace is fine. Sar and Mateta home to Man United. Like they could demolish us. So it's like I was like, okay, what am I giving up? I wasn't convinced that I will outscore. That is why I keep going back to maybe I can take Haaland, but then I could also lose out to Haaland.
Yeah, see the point you're making in 16, you're going for more reliable FPL picks in that sense. Maybe if Palmer is back, you're investing in Chelsea. Or maybe more reliable FPL team in that sense. Maybe to invest more so in Arsenal. So I get the point you're making. Instead of relying on your Villas, Brentford, maybe Forest, that week you're relying on more established FPL assets. That's
the point.
Yeah, and even from an attacking standpoint, maybe it's this old perception that I have of Brighton, but you like the idea of Liverpool playing against Brighton at home. Also, it's a good fixture for attackers, Liverpool attackers.
Yeah,
let's say even if you want to punt on an
Isak,
yeah, like an Isak, Wirtz, all of them who look good from an attacking point of view, look good in that 16. So those are the two that I'm debating in terms of 13 versus 16, and having this conversation is more 55-45 compared to 60-40 as well. Genuinely close between the two.
And the point also Pras was making about not having Haaland is for that reason. Because then you can afford the likes of Isak, Palmer if he becomes an option now. Let's say game week 13, we're going to get Haaland with Salah. That's pretty much your entire budget gone. You can't get an Isak, even let's say if he's benched against PSV. We know Isak is going to start against West Ham. Getting Salah and Haaland, no Isak.
Yeah, agreed. And like Liverpool versus Brighton and Chelsea versus Everton at home are genuinely good fixtures to punt on.
So again, it's very close, very team dependent for my team, and I'll show you guys the way I've set it up, and I'll talk about it more in my team selection video. It's going to be like 5 players in the Palace game, maybe around 3 or 4 players in the Chelsea game. That's just enough is for me to you know what, I'll just avoid this. Maybe I'll dabble a little bit. Maybe I'll get a Mateta or maybe I'll get a Sar to have some investment in that fixture, but I want to avoid the Arsenal-Chelsea fixture completely. It's a bit unpredictable, that one. Because again, with Chelsea, right, you see we struggled against these teams like Sunderland at home where we can't really get up for it, but against the big teams, especially at home, Maresca generally has stepped up his game.
Yeah. You know, a decision could just be made after seeing how the teams look after this week also, because generally performance is a bit off. Different teams maybe sometimes find a bit of form after the international break immediately. We'll have 2 sets of games to decide, at least for the European teams, and then we can decide when we want to free it, because we'll have a little bit of a clearer assessment of form as well.
Yes, but I think it makes a difference in the sense of again, we're going to talk about Gabriel replacements next. Now, let's say if you want to bring in a Timber, then it lends itself more so towards a 13 free hit because you can bypass the Chelsea fixture, right? So I think you sort of have to have some idea of when you want to do it. In that sense, somebody in the chat was also mentioning Game Week 17. The appeal with Game Week 17 primarily is for Bournemouth. You can afford to sell Semenyo and Senesi for around 15, 16, get them back in 17. But the fixtures for the other teams I had a look, very difficult to call in that sense. There are no banker fixtures for the other sides in 17. 18, I think 17 is just West Ham, City, West Ham, if I remember right. Apart from that, some fixtures are difficult to call.
Brentford have Wolves away, Brighton have Sunderland home. Arsenal have the relevant teams. Arsenal have Everton away, Liverpool have Spurs away, United have Aston Villa away.
It's tough, right? You can't really, it doesn't look like a very high upside week in that sense.
Yeah.
In that sense, 18 is a little bit better.
Yeah.
Anything else?
19 is the mirror of 19 is the mirror game week of which one is it? Is
15,
it
15 and 20 have the mirror. 15 and 20 have the mirror, I think.
20, not 19. Okay. But 19 also has some good fixtures. So, all this to say that they are all okay weeks, man. You can also, yes, you need to have some idea, like Zoph said, if you're making a decision this week on, but that's one player. You can also be a little bit flexible around it. I'm generally so pedantic about my free hit window. Everybody listening to this, you guys know this. But even I'm no, man, it's chill because the free hit has little value. So I could play my free hit this Friday. I think it's very feasible that I play it this Friday because if Semenyo is actually out and he's saying, okay, there was this thing, but it's very minor, but he's going to be out this weekend. Then Gabriel is also actually out. Then you're thinking, oh, I can get Salah. I can go against Haaland, Newcastle away. I think it's a beautiful week to free hit. If there's like 2-3 problems in your team, but they're only very short-term problems, so you just play it on the whim as well.
Also, just a more informed use of your transfers. Like delaying your transfers by a week also helps you make better transfers next week, right? The transfers you make next week are always almost going to be better than the transfers you make this week. So that's also a good point there.
Right, guys, move on to the next section.
Yes, before we move on, I just want to say there's a fair few people watching this podcast, and what we try to do here is we don't really make the decisions for you, but we try to arm you with as much information, contextualization, points to consider so that you can make your decisions. So, and if you just appreciate that, the likes and subscribes have been slowing down a little bit. We would like if they just go up a little bit, speed up a little bit. It's a season of giving as well. So if you could just hit the like and subscribe, we'd really, really appreciate it.
Let's talk about Liverpool, guys. Again, lots of good stats in terms of XG, not so much in terms of XGC. An amazing fixture schedule for the next 10 game weeks, and we might potentially own only one Liverpool player. So I'll just read out some of their stats to see how, then we can contextualize their picks. In terms of goals scored, Liverpool have been 6th this season, but they have been top for shots and 3rd for shots in the box, 4th for big chances, 6th for XG, 5th for non-pen XG. Good numbers, but not fantastic numbers compared to last season.
But not as bad as people might think.
Yes.
And they're scoring goals.
And there's an upward trajectory also, which we must highlight over the last few games. It's been improving rather than getting worse. Now, in terms of the picks, Liverpool players, shots plus key passes per 90, Cody Gakpo is right on top. But then TLDR, the only attacking pick over here you can trust in terms of X minutes are Salah and Sobo, right?
Yes. Until we learn something in the next 3-4 weeks. Right now, it's just Salah and Soboslai.
Are we in agreement that it's not worth splitting your team apart for Salah? Like today, I do have the option. Let's say I have Bruno and Saka. I could sell both for Salah and potentially a dead spot, but it just doesn't seem efficient to me. Pras, what do you think in terms of captaincy? Purely looking at that in mind, I think 12, 14 and 16, that has to be the appeal for Salah. But just seeing how Haaland is producing points consistently, do you even need to go against Haaland those weeks by bringing in Salah?
The sensible answer is obviously I agree with you. But there is, we were sitting here pre-game week 1 and we were saying the exact opposite thing. The sensible answer is go Salah. If you want to go no Salah and go Haaland, if you want to win FPL, why don't you try doing that? We said this. These were the words. I said it. So now it sounds so silly. So depends on your objectives on how you want to play. I think it's very risky to go against Haaland and go Salah, but it's not silly. Fixtures are there. His numbers are going up. It's just that many of us can't get there and the sacrifices seem high. But I don't think it's silly, but it's sensible not to. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's just that it's the middling assets like from Palace and United that make it difficult to go Salah. Like Haaland, nobody's going to sell right now. It's stupid to sell Haaland. We can all agree on that. Then Liverpool's form is dodgy, but even if you're expecting an uptick in form on Liverpool, United midfielders are doing fine. So are Crystal Palace assets in Mateta and Sarr. I mean, if they're not been doing fine, they've been trolling, but they're expecting their form has been decent. So to go to a Liverpool midfielder, you have to compromise on one or two of these assets, and then bet against the best asset in the game in terms of captaincy. And like when you're trying to weigh down the pros and cons, it's a little bit much, especially when you have one free week to captain Mo Salah, week of your choice, if you use the free hit chip accordingly. And then there's the fixtures which you try to objectively assess. Forest and Sunderland, on paper, really good fixtures at home for Mo Salah. He says, I still don't have the confidence to captain Salah in these games because Forest is a Daesh team and Sunderland have been doing Sunderland things this season. Like, if you ask me, the best fixtures to own Mo Salah objectively are game week 15 and 16, which is Leeds away and Brighton at home. Like those are the games I want him. So that's why also, right, when I'm just thinking about making a decision for Gabriel this week, for example, Zoph, there is an option of going down to a Richards or going to a Van Dijk, for example, right? I don't want to commit to the decision because if Salah shows enough leg in the next 2 weeks also, I want to see if I can jiggle around and make bigger impact decisions in the weeks after and see if I want to get Salah, even if it's just for Sunderland, Leeds, Brighton. So like that's where I am in terms of assessing Liverpool and seeing what I want with Salah.
I get it. It feels a bit strange to be in this position, but unless Haaland gets injured, I don't see myself buying Salah.
Yeah, but if Saka gets injured, right? Or if Saka has a downturn in form, and if Salah like if Salah braces against Forest, you're thinking about buying Salah. And you're going to think about selling Saka for it. Like that's going to be not on yours, it's going to be on everybody's manager. It's natural reaction to us seeing a proven asset from back in the day doing what he's been doing. So that's where we are.
I shout.
He's the best differential in the game
Agreed.
in the next 5 weeks. And we've been given a gift that you can use your transfers to get him, and you'll have free lots of transfers to spread his money later. Like a lot of times you'll say, why are you screwing up your team, man? Like you'll have 2 dead spots on your bench. Like this is not a stable long-term structure where we're not in the long-term way. You have to sell Salah by game week 16. So when you sell him, you spread his money. So it is, the structure is there, the conditions are there, but it's the opportunity cost, like you mentioned, Zoph. Like it's selling a Bruno and a Saka for Salah and a Potts just feels wrong at the moment.
And also, like Saka's just doing well. He got 2 big chances should have braced against Burnley, created 5 or 6 chances against Fulham, should have had a goal and maybe an assist at least against Sunderland, got his goal. And he's doing the thing where 1 goal is enough to get him 3 bonus points. He's defconning randomly as well. So Saka's just a really, really tough pick to sell now because he's doing well. So even that is the case where Saka's also doing good. Not an easy sell.
And remember, plus that unicorn graphic which we had seen at the start of the season that Bayer made for us. There's one more player there now alongside Bruno. Saka.
Yeah, Saka is getting good DEFCON numbers. I mean, that's a positive surprise. Look, I mean, Saka is great. I mean, when he played for England, there were a couple of important nuggets. One was he's part of the leadership team. Like Kane said that he's one of the big guys now for England. So, he'll want to keep scoring. Tuchel keeps saying, I want goal scoring midfielders. I want these wingers, these left and, they need to be the Olise style, the Diaz style. They need to be involved in the goals. So that is going to play in his mind. And he's just, Arsenal, Premier League, he's the big dog for Arsenal, man. So, this is the time that it feels wrong to not have Saka. It's not just about Salah. And it's not even about Haaland for me. It is about actually Saka and a Man United mid that you're sacrificing.
And the Man United's fixture schedule, we'll talk about it. It's really, really good. That's coming. And in fact, let me just go back to in the free hit section. I'd show you guys a ticker later. If you delete game week 13, Manchester United actually top all the way up to game week 16. The games read, I think, Everton, West Ham, Wolves, Bournemouth. So the run is fantastic for Manchester United. Let's talk about Szoboszlai a little bit, guys. We can't neglect him in terms of minutes. He is looking good, and we all saw that video on the overlap. We're expecting Sobo to be playing much further, closer to the striker now. But in terms of shot volume, and we again look at this shot map now. This is the last 4 game weeks. He hasn't had a single shot in the box. Now, players who traditionally aren't output merchants in the past, we do see them sometimes having a spike. We've seen it with the Yaya Toure and Ramsey, but I'm not still seeing the goal output or even the assist output necessarily coming from Szoboszlai. Is he just a coverage pick, LR? You're looking for just a way to invest in the Liverpool defense, or would you rank him above, let's say, your Enzo, Sars, Mintes, other picks in that 6 million price bracket?
It's a tough question to answer, but I'll just tell you the points to consider. It's not like Sobo traditionally hasn't been an output merchant. For Hungary, he's a talisman in terms of just generally what he does for the team in terms of goals and assists as well. And if he plays as the number 10 for Liverpool, he's getting in really good positions. So I would take this shot map with a little pinch of salt because they just haven't found him, because Liverpool themselves are struggling in attack and they haven't found him in those positions. He's getting in these positions. But the fact is, he's not shown it, and you haven't seen it until you've seen it. But he's placed in the center of the box quite a few times. The ball just hasn't reached him. So that's the thing. Now, if you think he will continue to play that way, fair enough. But I do think we're now approaching the guys that tend to hog the central spaces are getting fit or in form. Wirtz has had 2 generational performances in the international break for Germany. Isak is probably going to get fit now. Ekitike is really fit in the international break as well. So the chances are going to fall to these guys who are playing centrally as well. So I don't know, man. I don't have an answer with Szoboszlai. Am I going to get him this week? No, but I don't have an answer for it.
In terms of chance
It's a
creation,
wait and watch.
Yeah, in terms of chance creation, he's doing well. He's created 8 chances, the most of any Liverpool player except Salah. There is some chance he'll play right back. We're not expecting Bradley to start those games, but you can flip that and say the DEFCON in those games is likely to be higher. So his floor in that game goes up a little bit with a dip in attacking output. Pras, is he in your thinking?
Yeah. Like, I think my summary is what your summary was, that he's decent, but there's other better midfielders in that price bracket.
Yeah.
Like he can do well, but
Yeah. Like I feel like he can explode also. It's just we're not there yet. He needs to do it. Like have 2 chances from inside the box. Like not even goals, just 2 shots from inside the box in a game for us to see, okay, that people are finding him inside the box now.
And we can't talk about Szoboszlai without congratulating our Irish fans. The best game over the international break, the
Incredible.
best piece of commentary. Troy Parrott has scored a hat-trick, or he's done it. That was amazing.
95th minute. Literally last kick of the game.
That was just insane, man. Congratulations to all of them. That was just amazing to watch. Genuinely amazing to watch.
The pints of Guinness.
And obviously, commiserations to the Hungarian listeners.
The pints of Guinness in Dublin that night, man, would have been something else.
There were so many videos of people watching that game at airports, at restaurants, people taking their shirts off. Like, incredible, man. What sport does to people.
The World Cup is a World Cup, man. It doesn't, the Euro and the World Cup is still on a different level, man. You want to be at the World Cup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is again Salah stats, just to quickly go over them. Again, upward trajectory in that sense. Good numbers against Brentford, against Manchester United, against Man City. Obviously, we didn't see much. That's Man City. But again, with Liverpool, one thing I want to mention, guys, and now let's move to the defense, right? A lot of the people I've been talking to, they're like, oh, Liverpool defense is actually not bad. They kept a clean sheet against Villa. They kept a clean sheet against Madrid. They're improving. So I get that side of it, but I watched large bits of that Villa game. They were a bit lucky not to concede. Rodgers hit the post very early on. And that Real Madrid game, I sort of view it very much in isolation. That is a massive, massive game at Anfield, right? Liverpool raised themselves to the top level of that game. They're not going to be at that level when they're necessarily home to Sunderland, away to Leeds. In that sense, they're not going to be as up for it.
Devil's advocate, though. Against City, they were unlucky. One deflected goal, one Voldy from Doku. Goal. And what was that from Haaland, right? It wasn't even a header. I don't even know what to call it yet, right? So on paper, did they even concede a big chance to Man City? Like, so there is a converse in terms of luck and happenstance in terms of Liverpool defense, right? I do think it's an upward trajectory. And I think firmly by playing the 3 midfielders in the position that they should be playing in, it should lead for a good sort of, what do you call, threading or anchor, and then it should be, they won't be the best defense, but will they be like the 5th best defense, 6th best defense in the league when Alisson is? Yeah.
Absolutely. Alisson back is a big thing, and Overthinker John made a great comment on our Discord. He said that Konate is to Van Dijk what Beto is to Ndai, in that sense.
Yeah. So, what the biggest consideration point for Liverpool is, if you see the rolling XGC charts of which we pulled out. Like if you see the XGC, this is a rolling 6-game XGC chart right from the time Slot has entered the frame for Liverpool. If you see right now, they're probably at one of their worst points in terms of the amount of XGC they've been conceding on average in the last 6 games. But the consideration point is, if you look at the middle of last season, they were really, really good, averaging 0.5 XGC per game in that point. The point is the players haven't changed much in defense. Actually, they have changed, but they're capable of this sort of XGC, is the point I'm saying. Where if he continues to play Robbo, plays Kirkes a little bit, and Alisson's back, they're capable of this sort of form in the fixtures. Also, Liverpool had one of the worst fixture runs in the first 10 weeks of the season. And that's why the fixture run right now is really, really good.
To put a counter argument to that, he can't obviously bench Kirkes every game. He can't play Robbo also every game, right? We say he's going back to basics, but eventually he's going to have to shuffle.
Yep.
And that's it. And again, the XGC you see is improving, but still over 1.12 per game. Again, so I'm just saying we should normalize, and we shouldn't potentially just rush to Virgil over, let's say, getting somebody who has a Gabriel moving to a Timber, because I still think Arsenal are a significantly better defense than Liverpool.
I agree.
It's not
But
a
he could be better
no-brainer move.
defense, but not a better pick, right?
FPL pick, again, you contextualize the guys in the picks you have, and that's
Like Virgil, if he scores that goal, we are not even discussing it. That if that goal, Robbo goal is allowed, we're like, okay, he's reminded us what he can do, what Gabriel does. Maybe he's not as good as Gabriel. They don't create as many chances as Arsenal do, but Van Dijk, he still has a goal in him in the next 10 game weeks. He still has about 5 def cons in the next 10 game weeks.
He has a 17-pointer worth 10 in him, absolutely.
And the fixtures is just unreal.
Yeah, it's just my perception is Van Dijk is a good pick. Like he's never been an Arsenal defender kind of pick, even in the years of past. Like you will see 10% or 15% of teams having Van Dijk at any point in the team. He's always been a good pick. He's always been a decent differential. It's just because when we tend to perceive and we see everybody in the community going towards Van Dijk, then we have sort of a Gabriel sort of perception for somebody like Van Dijk. He's not Gabriel. Like that's the point I'm saying. He's a good pick.
Yeah.
You should look at your points. Like the question I asked you, Pras, was if it was getting a Van Dijk at the cost of a Bruno Fernandes or at the cost of getting a United midfielder, would you do it then?
Yeah, of course. FPL is about trade-offs and working in strict budgets, right? I would say, yeah. I mean, there's other cheaper players, midfielders, and there's other cheaper defenders in return who also defcon. It's all relative, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not saying that Liverpool will continue having a poor defense. It's about then deciding between the trade-off because he's a good pick. I just don't think he's a great pick. That's where I am.
Over the December period,
it's insane.
Where I am he's a very good pick. He's going to play every match with great fixtures, with DEFCON. He's playing teams who are going to play the whole game that what Man United played. Of course, that will make them concede more as well. But he will eat DEFCON for breakfast. They keep lobbing up to him and he'll be heading it back. So
I don't necessarily agree, Pras, with that because again, you look at the games that are coming up. I don't think the other teams will be having much of the ball. Again, Forest, Sunderland, West Ham to a certain extent.
It's not about having the ball.
I understand the point you're making because of Liverpool, the weakness they've shown. The weakness they've shown at winning the second balls and Konate, they might target that. But I don't think necessarily the DEFCON are as likely in these upcoming fixtures as we think they are.
I disagree. Like how Man United played, it was not about not having the ball. The goalkeeper was kicking it to him because they were like, Liverpool love to press as the team is building out from the back. And they love it because Slot even says it, that these guys, they just bypassed us. And he literally said this, that we couldn't press them. So what is Sean Dyche going to do? He will not do that. So Aston Villa, in fact, they were criticized for the way they played. They were trying to do the whole Unai Emery thing, and Liverpool loved it. They were like, thank you very much. We'll just keep pressing you. Virgil didn't DEFCON. In Man City, of course, Man City are never going to change the way they play for Liverpool. Van Dijk didn't DEFCON. So it's not about the opponent, it's about the style of play. And I'm not saying, obviously, he won't keep Senesi or Anderson type DEFCONs, but I'm just saying he has that in his locker compared to a Timber.
Yes.
And Gabriel is also getting it. But I'm just comparing Timber and Gabriel and Van Dijk is not a comparison. If Gabriel is fit, he's way better than Van Dijk.
Yeah. Also, one thing with Van Dijk, right? I do think, first, I was in our boy Josh's DMs, who is distance covered. If you haven't seen, he did a beautiful short 30-minute video on Liverpool analytically on the overlap. Check that out. But as specifically asked him about Van Dijk and Liverpool attackers, he said none of our attackers are a pick. Salah's too expensive. That was where he was. And when it comes to defense, he's likely getting Van Dijk as well. He thinks the defense is improving, and he says that the corners have improved a lot in terms of significantly more this season, and Van Dijk seems to be at the heart of most of the chances that are falling to them on set pieces as well. So that was his perception of Van Dijk as well. So he's in approval of getting Van Dijk as well.
In terms of stats, I think Van Dijk's had only 4 shots in the box in the season, but I remember reading a stat on Scout where I think he's had the most headed goal attempts of any Liverpool player this calendar year, something like 25 or 26. That's right, LR?
Yeah. Yes, that's the one.
We'll move to the Gabriel section just to again contextualize some of the stats over here. The big chances conceded was the main issue we look at with Liverpool, right? They were 17th in terms of that, but he has improved that over the last few weeks, primarily by shoring up the midfield.
Yeah. And playing Robbo, I think playing Robbo instead of Cook is also pretty significant.
Agreed. Move on.
Can you just open the fixture ticker?
Yep.
Because I think it's very important.
Sorry, go on. Yeah, open the fixture ticker. I just wanted a question to you guys. What do you think of people cheaping out to Konate instead of Van Dijk?
I don't trust Konate's legs in Christmas. That's my answer to it. He's just not a fit guy, right? And
We have
he has
lots
to
of
play.
transfers.
Yeah, we
Transfer
have
value
lots
is
of
very low at the moment.
yeah, and there's not much in the DEFCON as well as the goal thread between both of them, so I don't mind it. But if I'm going Liverpool defense, then I want to go for the main guy. That's where I am.
I don't
And it's
trust
still
Konate.
0.5.
Just don't trust him in terms of minutes also. I have some worry with his injury issues. He's been good, much better off late, and they don't really have any replacements. But in a congested period, I just don't trust Konate to start every minute of every game.
All right,
So
also
somebody
just
said Bruno and in fact I sent this to you guys, right? Bruno and Konate are the same price as Van Dijk and Mbumo, for example.
get the choice where both the picks are better than their counterparts.
We went there.
All right,
You know-
guys, brace yourselves for another Bruno versus Mbumo.
No. Before we get to that, let's do the Gabriel discussion. Let's move on to that.
No, just before the Gabriel discussion, the point where the Van Dijk sorts a lot of problems and gives you so much robustness during this Christmas period is right under Gameweek 22. The fixtures are actually just insane. Like you got Forest at home, West Ham away, Sunderland at home. Yes, we can make the argument that Forest at home and Sunderland at home are not as easy fixtures as we thought they were going to be, but on an average, they should at least clean in one of the two. Okay, then you've got Leeds away, Brighton at home, Spurs away. Then 18, 19, 20 again in Christmas. Fulham at home, Leeds at home, Fulham away. So there's just a lot of good fixtures right under Game Week 22 where if you get Van Dijk, you probably don't need to worry about a transfer in that position for 10 game weeks.
Absolutely. But I also think it's okay to hop on him a little bit later. Let's say if you have the
I agree.
AFCON transfers and the picks in midfield become a lot less apparent. You can't invest in your Boomos, Sar. You can even jump on him around game week 16 or 17 and the fixture run is still good.
Yep.
Right. Gabriel replacements?
So the one that I think Van Dijk is obviously under consideration, and he helps a lot in terms of rotation, squad robustness. He tends to cover Arsenal and Senesi's poor fixtures also well. He's very useful when you need him if you compare him to the other picks. Just one pick that I really want to talk about in detail is Nico Arelli because I saw the games, and it's not so much that he's holding the forward position a lot. He's just, what I noticed was he's very intelligent with the runs he makes when he's supposed to run beyond Doku or when he's supposed to run beyond Foden or Shirky on that side. He makes really, really smart runs and finds himself in the center of the box. Second, that surprised me, he's a set piece threat. He's stationed he's a tall guy, way more taller than we might realize. So he's positioned in the center of the box for every corner and every set piece that Man City are taking. So it's not just that he's got threat in open play, he's got threat on set pieces as well. Third thing is, I think he becomes a very, very reliable pick Game Week 16 onwards or 17 onwards when Aït-Nouri goes to AFCON. Till the time Aït-Nouri is not going to AFCON, there's threat from Aït-Nouri, there's threat from Guardiola, and there's threat from Ake, because they tend to play in that position. But I just think that Pep, when he finds his tactics, he sticks to them. So he might just be a good pick. The advantage is if I'm looking to free hit in 13, he plays Newcastle away, I can take some time to get O'Reilly if I want to, because he's still really, really cheap. He's 5 million. And just some data, in the last 4 game weeks, he's topping the defenders for shots in the box, penalty box touches, XGI that you see here. He's got 3 returns in the last 3 games. He hit DEFCON in the last game, and he started 7 out of the last 8 games in the league. The one game he didn't start, they lost. So there's a lot in terms of, we might be seeing him becoming the guy for Manchester City, but it's Manchester City and Pep Guardiola. The proof is there, but it's still the fact that it's Manchester City and Guardiola in the Christmas period.
The Gabriel replacements, I think, is actually quite interesting because we need to contextualize it also in terms of how your team is set up. Now, let's say if you're a triple Arsenal defense, I think it makes more sense to diversify a little bit, right? Who are you going to go as your third Arsenal defender in that sense? So then it's quite no-brainer, you go from Virgil. But where it gets interesting now, let's say if you're on double Arsenal defense, there are most likely 2 combinations. You either have Rhea or Gabriel, or like us, you have Gabriel and Timber. Now, in that case, obviously from when we already have Timber, when you have Gabriel, then you have to go straight to a defensive replacement, either to a Virgil or downgrade him to somebody like a Richards. And maybe let's say that 1.8, 1.7 that saves you can essentially take a Sar or an Enzo to a Boomo. So that's the decision you sort of need to make over there. Now, for somebody who's holding Rhea, and if you have Gabriel, so that's a bit, I think the decision becomes a little bit trickier. Now, do you go for a Virgil there and say that I don't want to double up on the Arsenal defense anymore? Or do you go that I'm not going to look at it, let's say, like maybe I don't want to spread risk. I still want to look at that. Timber is a better pick. Arsenal is a better defense. I want to stay double invested in the Arsenal. I'll go for Timber instead. Now, Pras, which boat are you on? Because again, we look at Timbers in terms of the XGI stats. We mentioned that he's not that good for DEFCON, maybe not that good for bonus, but in terms of underlying numbers, he's still up there. In terms of XGI non-pen, he's still the highest defender this season when we look at full season data. And even when we look at the last 6, they've just been one return. I think that's the penalty he won against West Ham, but he's still thereabouts in the top 5. So he does have that upside where he doesn't have the DEFCON, but he does play for a better defense at Van Dijk. And we just spoke about the X minutes potentially going up. How do you weigh that?
It's tough to answer, man. Personally, I would pick Van Dijk over Timber because of fixtures. I'm a fixtures guy, and I think Van Dijk has more route to points. Arsenal is a better defense, but we've talked about Van Dijk already. But by the way, there's also Saliba. You could, if you wanted like complete X minute security, Saliba is also there. And apparently Saliba did well when Gabriel was last out, even though he had a couple of lucky goals. I think you remember the one that came off his ass. That was during Gabriel was out. So
it was last Christmas only, if I'm not mistaken.
So there is not a high correlation. So it's a dangerous slope to go down that Saliba does well when Gabriel is not there. But that's also an option. So I think they're all equal, man, because the Arsenal's fixtures getting worse is aligning with Liverpool's fixtures getting better. So you're picking a player with slightly better clean sheet odds but a worse defense. I don't think there's so much in it, man. Like, I just like Van Dijk for all the other things and DEFCON.
Even if Arsenal's fixtures are getting worse, right? If you omit game week 13, these are what Arsenal's fixtures look like. Spurs at home, I think great fixture now. Brentford at home, Villa away, then Wolves at home, Everton away, Brighton at home, Aston Villa at home, Bournemouth away. It's not like it's a bad run of fixtures.
It's not bad at all. Of course, I mean, we're talking about coming down from 3-2 or 2-1. We're not talking about getting out of all.
And even with Liverpool, Pras, I think there's a significant difference between Liverpool at home versus Liverpool away, which is what you saw Josh mentioned in that video. At away, I still don't fancy Liverpool for the clean sheet, but for Arsenal, I'd say it's almost 50-50. Away, I think they're a bit more conservative. You'd expect the
but I'm acknowledging that their Arsenal clean sheet odds are better, but that's not the only way defenders are scoring points this year. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, also just, I think I think three of us are on the same page, but do you think Gabriel being out reduces Arsenal's clean sheet odds massively? I don't. I think they're
not
just
massively, but it does.
Really.
But it does. But let's say if they're at 50%, I would maybe move them down to 47. It's very marginal in that sense.
Exactly. Because they're a team that defends, not like a dependent on one person. Yes, he's the captain, leader, legend, but he's not the captain. But you know what I'm saying in terms of vibes. But the team is there to defend.
Yeah, like when Liverpool concedes, Slot doesn't have a bellyache like Arteta does.
Yes, exactly.
Like you mentioned last game, right?
Yeah.
So again, we're going to push you guys for an answer. We can't just say both are good picks. Now, let's say most of the guys we are really listening to this are set up on the Drea Gabriel thing. Do you stay double invested in Arsenal or do you move to Liverpool? I want a clear answer. LR, you first.
Van Dijk.
Pras?
Yeah, I'm clear with it. There's no fence sitting. Yeah.
I'm still on Timber, man. I still think there's no reason to move away from Arsenal. I think you get Van Dijk around game week 16. You just stay double invested in Arsenal.
It's close, but I like the routes to points, and just I think Liverpool will improve.
Can I just make a macro point as well, because this has come up a couple of times. How are you thinking about game week 16? Like, for the moment, I want to make no transfers after 16. I'm the opposite. You give me 5 transfers, thank you very much. I'll put it in my pocket. Like, I have no desire to spend them.
I'm not of that boat at all. I'm okay with spending. I want to carry maybe 3 transfers into 17, but I'm okay with using a couple.
You use one because you have to use every week.
Yeah.
So you use one, you have to use one. So 1 or 2 is okay.
Use 2, but maybe let's say even if I have to use 3 in game week 16 to set up for the periods of ahead, it's fine, because then I'll roll in 17, 18. They're all going to come like this. The game weeks are all
no, if you roll apart. Like if you commit to 3, like I mean, it's
I'm
good
not committing.
To talk about this.
I'm not committing, absolutely. And I've already mentioned in my team selection video, I'm making most of my moves in 15 in such a way that I'll have to make only one move in 16. That is going to be Krupi to Thiago. Right. So you leave that money and structure it in such a way. And I'm even planning a segue for, let's say, a Munoz to a Van Dijk in 16. In that sense, I'm leaving that money to plan for that.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, that's what I was just checking. Like, I want to have 5 also in 17, 18, 19. Of course, some weeks you'll go down to 4, then you save again and come back up to 5.
Yeah.
But that is at least the way I'm thinking of playing it with the transfer. So whenever hear that I'll do this in 18, I'll spread the money in 18. That was what I was questioning. I know you said 16, but I thought it was worth discussing.
Also, I just wanted to add, right? Like, I feel like Van Dijk versus Timber, whichever way you look at it, is like a 60-40 decision. I think after 7-8 weeks, when you look at it, I don't think there'll be much there in terms of points differentiation between the two, just because they're both really good picks, right? Like, I can't fault either pick too much. I think the genuine decision you need to make is team structure and monies, in terms of, do you really want to go cheap? And there's a couple of good cheap defenders, right? There's Richards, who's the obvious cheap defender, and there's also Van Heck, because Brighton have now kept 2 clean sheets in the last 2 games. They're sitting in the top 6-7 for XGC, and their fixture run is also incredible for a while as well. So, and he's got DEFCON in 5 out of the last 8 games as well. So he's starting to DEFCON also quite a bit. He's 4.4 million. He saves you a lot of cash as well. And why I'm saying that is because if you look at the fixtures, this is something that I was talking about. You're getting a United midfielder now, whether that's Bruno or Boomo, you decide. You're probably thinking of doubling up on United midfielder in a couple of weeks as well after the Palace game. It's a move that you're potentially thinking about because United's fixtures is also legit good for a long time. Third thing is Cole Palmer is going to be fit. Let's say you don't get him right now. If you look at his fixtures, game week 16 onwards, his fixtures read Everton home, Newcastle away, Villa home, Bournemouth home. Like, we are not seeing it now, but we might be thinking about Cole Palmer at that point, when you're getting 3 home games against Everton, Villa and Bournemouth, just as an explosive asset differential at that point. So that means that you need to also weigh up how much you're spending in your defense. That is a genuine question to ask, which is why, as much as I can help, Zoph, you were asking me, right? I don't want to commit to where I go with my Gabriel move today. Because if it's going to Van Dijk, how much am I blocking in terms of funds? I just want to see a little bit of football play out and see what the news on Palmer is, what Chelsea's form is looking like. Have Liverpool improved defensively for me to go there?
Yep.
So it's fine if you take the hit for a week, delay a few transfers, and then commit to your move as well.
And that's the third option I really wanted to talk about is Crystal Palace. Now, looking at their fixtures and their clean sheets also, they've kept 5 clean sheets this season. In terms of the last 6, they're still in the top 6 for XGC. Still a very good defense. They're in terms of season data, they're in the top 4. Now, let's say if you take now Gabriel down to somebody like Richards, who I think really is a fantastic pick. I think it's really an underappreciated one in terms of, you look at DEFCON per 90 for the season. Richards is up there with your Anderson, Van Dijk maybe, and he's pretty all right in terms of bonus, not that much in terms of XGI, but at 4.5, a fairly robust pick in terms of your DEFCON potential in terms of 6 to 8 points. Now, you can even go for a Munoz. Munoz data is quite strong as well if you want to go for something.
I wanted to ask you, because it's an opportunity for a former guy like me to get Munoz, but you mentioned, I think, in the chat when he was playing last time, because you've been watching him closely since the Wildcard because you had him, that he's not as attacking as he has been. So what's your read there? Because I'm like, I don't know Munoz. It's an opportunity to get him if I want to.
Yeah, so the last 2 games he's accumulated in total 0.05 XGI, 0 key passes, 0 shots in the box. So that might be a function of him being tired by playing like every Sunday, Thursday, Sunday for that one. And it might also be Glasner saying that, okay, don't run so much. That way you can conserve your energy and play more games. In that sense, right? But you look at the opponents that they have, and especially in terms of their away games. You leave the Manchester United game aside, their away games next are, and I generally like Palace as a side who are more suited to playing away. The away games are Wolves, Burnley, and Fulham. All 3 sides that have struggled defensively this season. And these are the games I think Munoz will be given that license. So I really like the Munoz pick as well. Again, the DEFCON might not be that great, but in terms of the threat, it's good. And you can obviously segue him out around game week 16 when they play Man City to Van Dijk or something like that.
But after 16 also, he's got Leeds away, Spurs at home, Fulham at home. It's not an easy sell then also. It's good fixtures for a while.
And again, let's look at the clean sheet projections also for Palace, right? In game week 12, 36% healthy. Game week 14, 39% healthy. Again, they're obviously not as good as Liverpool, but it's not as far off. Now, Liverpool are 40% in 12. Liverpool are 43% in 14. These are marginal differences.
And if you're free hitting in either 13 or 16, the free hit odds don't look bad for Palace anyway, because you're getting 3 juicy fixtures.
exactly my point. So I think Palace deserve to be the consideration. I currently like Richards more than Munoz because you can eventually move that money to attack. In that sense, you can upgrade your Sar to a Bumo, to a Bruno. It's much easier in that sense. I think so. Palace, you should consider that route as well. Anderson, I'm not liking as much now because there's some rumors that Marco Silva, he's possibly on the precipice, and there are teams that are generally struggling a little bit. So I wouldn't necessarily be investing in Anderson. With Anderson, also the problem is 13, 14 aren't that great. And even 15, Palace at home, not fantastic. 16 is when the run gets a little bit better. So if you're looking to go down, I think Richards is your man.
There's one robust pick at 5 million. Also, that's an option. That's Dillit. It's just that United defensively haven't looked the greatest. They've kept only 1 clean sheet so far this season, and are, I think, bottom 5 for XGC as well. So defensively we haven't looked the best, but he's looking like a okay threat on set pieces, and he defcons once in a while as well. So if you're looking for a robust pick with good fixtures, don't want to pay the price for Van Dijk, you can chance upon Dillit as well.
Do you agree, Pras, on the United defense? I still have very little faith. I'm happy to go in on their attack, but the defense, nowhere near my thoughts.
Yeah.
At the moment, no, it's tough to make a case, but it's a team on the up, man. Like, and the fixtures are good, so I don't mind it. Like, it's but again, with DEFCON, it makes these things harder.
The problem is Casemiro, man. Casemiro, 60 minutes, it just goes boom. Once Ugarte comes on, that's it.
He played 90 minutes for Brazil and he looked fine. Like, I don't understand why Amorim is taking him off. Like, the people I went with, I was like, oh, Casemiro is about to come off. He can't last. The guy played, I mean, he didn't play 90. I think he played 85 and he was fine.
Was it a 2-man midfield or a 3-man midfield? That's the difference. No. He has to do a lot more work for United in that system.
And also, Bruno doesn't do any work. Yes,
exactly.
Bruno's work, that's it.
Yeah, I'm worried about one thing, right? People overcommitting to United. Let's say even thinking about Cunha, for example. We'll move to the United midfield chat, but our right side.
We can move to that now. Anything else on the Gabriel thing? We can move to the attackers then.
I would say for cheap defender, my answer is always the same in every podcast. It's about rotation. Like who works in your rotation on who are the players you have. In certain setups, Aston Villa rotate really well. So if you wanted to go for my boy Konza, he's 4.4. He works really well because he has a good fixture. The weeks Anderson doesn't have a good fixture. Van Heck works really well for people looking at wildcard, free hit 16, because Brighton's fixtures are pretty good and you don't have to play him every week. He's got some nice home fixtures, okay for CBIT as well. So these three that I would say are interesting: Richards, Van Heck and Konza.
Brighton is interesting. 16 and 18 are the only difficult games. I think they're Liverpool away and Arsenal away, and he works really well with Mukiele. Sunderland are home to Newcastle that week and home to Leeds that other week. Go ahead, Ala.
Yeah. Just one pick that rotates pretty decently with Senesi. If you're looking at two rotating defenders in that spot, I spoke about Thiago earlier. If you want to go Newcastle defense, but if you want to jump early on a Sean Dyche defense, they rotate quite well with Senesi as well. So if you want to go Murillo, Milinkovic, I think that's a decent shot as well, because it's a team I think that's not in vogue at the moment, but Dyche will get them going in this period.
Even the Verbruggen-Dubravka rotation is really good if you remove the 13 week. I think they're Forest away, free hit in 13, and then 16 and 18. Dubravka, I think, has Fulham at home. Another good fixture in 18 as well.
Yeah. Bro's taking my Sanchez and Dubravka picks. Sanchez and Verbruggen picks, man.
I'll just summarize very quickly.
Pope, man.
Yep.
Okay, if we are going 4.5 million or before, I think the two picks that we like are Richards and Van Heck. Any preference between the two?
I think Richards is clear for me because
clear, man.
Because you can potentially play Richards any week, man. I know Pras mentioned rotation, but Palace just are so good. Even if they clean against Man City, would that completely blow me away? No, they've done it in this one. They did it in that the tournament last year, right? Which they won. FA Cup, yeah.
If you've got a robust team, my suggestion at 5 million, look into Nico Reali. He just looks incredible. I think he's Zoph and Pras won't pick him until game week 15 or 16 because they're looking at robust things.
I could pick O'Reilly, by the way, because City have a lot of early kickoffs.
Exactly. So he's one that that's a good shout, Pras. That's making me think about that. Because we could get early news. So if you know when to bench him, when you have to bench him as well, right? And then in the premiums...
We don't get early news. Pras, let's disclaim that.
We just see it on the internet, obviously.
We don't get early news.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And then in the premiums, you're looking at either Arsenal defender or Van Dijk.
Cool, guys. Move on to the attacker section.
If you have Timber, I do want to state that in this period, Calafiori is not a pick.
Agreed.
In terms of robustness.
Cool. Okay.
Guys, we are 2 hours in. Oh, are we not? How
No, we are
long?
about R40.
Okay.
Just an hour 40.
Yeah. All right. We have to
Yeah.
make up for last week's no pod. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got the XGI data for
why
the
don't
entire.
you?
Go ahead, Alan.
Before that, Zoph, just plug the Discord as well. Let's get a few new people in for
Yeah,
the
the
Christmas
lot
period.
Discord has been fun, a lot of chatting, and it's the right time to get involved because the fixtures are coming, a lot of injury news, lot of updates, and it's always good, man, popping in terms of chats. I have discussed a lot of Wildcard 12, which we'll unveil a little bit later on the pod. Just a great community to hang out with over this period.
Cheers.
Right. So we've got the data now for XGI. This is for the full season. Bumo is third, man. Haaland on top, Mateta second. Brumo is 5.74 in terms of XGI non-pen. So in terms of the 3.2, is his XG is also a decent amount of XG. But what I did notice in that Spurs game, and I don't know if this will stick, Bruno was taking corners from both sides. That's something new, right?
Yeah, he normally takes it only from one side.
They were just trying on one side for an outswinging. Like I would say 99% or 90% it will be still be Momo.
Yeah, that was good. And also the whole Bumo thing on the left. What was up with that? Do you think that's something that's going to stick or something that was particularly he did versus Spurs?
Was bad management from Amorim, if you ask me. Like the one thing that's been it was our worst game in the last 5 that we've played in terms of 3 wins and 2 draws. The Spurs performance in terms of Amorim as well as United was one of the poorest. A shit game, and I don't know why he broke up the Bumo Ahmad partnership on that right side. It's been one of the more positive things when it comes to United. I think it'll immediately go back because he has 4 games of that or 5 games of that before they both disappear.
Yep. So in terms of the pure XGI non-pen data, Bumo is significantly ahead of Bruno, 5.75 versus 4.08 in that sense. But guys, talk to me. Double up viable for this period? I think so with the fixtures.
I think there's a larger point that needs to just discussed here tactically because important news has emerged today about Sesko not being there for the next 3 or 4 weeks. Now, this could mean a couple of things. It could mean that Xerxes gets thrown into the fold and then 2 of Mount, Bumo, and Cunha play in those positions, or Cunha plays up front and he does Bumo and Mount as the back two. There's also a chance that Bruno could play further up, but I personally think that's the least likeliest because all the noises that are in the Amorim press conferences is about how tactically exhausting the 2-8's position is for Amorim in his system as well. And I think he's made his mind up about Bruno being in that position. So I don't see that changing too much. So you would think that this favors Cunha a lot because he plays a striker, but the fixtures are easy where we're going to keep a lot of the ball. And when we're keeping a lot of the ball, if you ask me as an FPL asset where I like Cunha's position, it's actually as the 10 behind. So I think this Sesko thing being injured actually makes Cunha equal because he plays further up, but I just think he's a better asset behind. I think it probably makes Bruno a little worse because I liked Bruno a lot more when Cunha was there because they rotated that position sort of very well in terms of Cunha dropping deep, carrying the ball, and then Bruno pushing forward because Mount doesn't carry the ball as well as Cunha does in terms of, moving past players as well. So that's why carte blanche, I still think Bumo is the best option, and the rest is a wait and watch. Bruno is still the second best option.
I think I completely agree with you in that sense about Sesko's absence. That has shifted the goalposts a little bit for me because, like we mentioned, the tactical setup which they're using, Cunha dropping deep a little bit was allowing Bruno to get forward. He can't do that as much in the center forward role. So if buying today, I think Bumo is ahead of Bruno for me. I'm also worried a little bit about Bumo because the relationship I saw with him and Sesko was a little bit how Giroud and Hazard used to play. The quicker guy was sort of playing off the big man. Sesko would knock it down and usually Bumo would be the runner off him. So I think that's a big hit to your attack in general.
Yeah. Cunha is a good point and people want to go there.
The pessimist would say if they've lost their striker, who's holding up the ball really well, so the attack is generally worse anyway. So
agree.
Is that the time to double up on the attack? Also, I think with fixtures, it's a little bit of a anomaly where Man United, a little bit like Crystal Palace, do better when they don't have the ball as much. So when the fixtures are easier, like against Everton, I don't know the dynamics. We need to learn. Like I'm hopeful as a fan that it's a game where we have more possession and we do well and score goals. But I have also been traumatized in the last years to know that these are games where we just come up short. Like it just doesn't work. So this is why I'm a little bit hesitant to give a very strong view, and I'm a little bit negative on everyone if Sesko is out. And on Cunha, it's 50-50, right? I mean, he could play up top. His minutes
Yeah.
also go up, right? His minutes go up
Significantly.
for sure, because otherwise
Cunha-
Mount would definitely come on.
And he's cheap. He's a 7.8, 7.9 midfielder that you're going to hold until game week 20 if you go there today. Because the fixtures are ridiculous, right? Because it's just not right now. It's the mirror fixture. So 19, 20, 21 also reads Wolves, Leeds, Burnley.
And his minutes go up now because of Sesko. His minutes go up later because of Mbeumo missing out. So
Exactly.
I think net, I felt that it was slightly positive for him, even though he may prefer to do
Agree with
other
you.
work.
And the striker position is the striker position. From an FPL point of view, we like him and want him closer to goal.
Correct. And so
Yeah.
I don't have a view on Mbeumo. I think he's a very good pick, but his gameplay suits a Brighton team than an Everton team, I feel. But he's still the spearhead in many ways. So I think it's a little bit open. Like after Sesko being out, we could be really terrible or we could be okay. But if you're going double attack, you're taking a little bit of a risk is where I am always with Man United. Even one is a risk, man. We're rubbish.
Pras, you're talking me into a Cunha punt over Mbeumo this week. Like I could just do it. I feel like people are going to buy him in 4 or 5 weeks if United look decent anyway. I also feel like if we look shit, right, what are we going to be? We're going to be like Wolves. And then Cunha thrives in that sort of an environment where nobody else is there. He likes to be the main man and just scores worldies.
He likes a shot out of the box. We'll have more possession theoretically. So I'm a little on the fence now. If Sesko was fit, I would have said, yeah, Mbeumo and Bruno are the clear best two picks. Now I'm a little bit on the fence on all of them.
Yeah, but there are no wrong picks here because of the fixtures. Bruno, Mbeumo, and Cunha. Even Bruno is a really good pick. Points, etc. He's Bruno Fernandes. Sensational for Portugal. Just in a good space of mind. Go for any of the three.
So there's two other variations, by the way, which are possible. Which is he tried Ahmad and Mbeumo, right? And now that was a tougher fixture, and he wanted to have a more solid back five without an Ahmad kind of a wing back. Maybe that is less likely. We were just discussing in our United's chat, LR. But there's another possibility. Maybe Menu plays more, and not in the 8. Menu plays in the left. Yeah. So Menu will want minutes as well. So I think these are two variations. But again, all of them net are good for Cunha's minutes. Cunha's output TBD.
So there's one metric I trust a lot that's not mentioned over here. That's my butt clench test. So the two players the last weekend who had firmly clenched my butt when I was watching, I was worried about not owning them because I felt that they could really do damage. Number one was Sarr. I think he really could have had a haul in that game. And the second, by distance more, I think is Mbeumo. This is good. Takes me back to Richarlison a couple of years ago. When I've watched Mbeumo, not owning him, I literally shit myself. I'm like, bro, this guy's approaching 40-50% ownership, and now he looks like he has a brace or hat-trick potential every game. And a goal-scoring midfielder is the most dangerous asset to go against in FPL. And he just looks like the pure goal scorer in your team.
Yeah. Just on the butt clench test, Sarr is a unicorn there. He makes you clench your butt whether you own him or not.
Pretty much.
Never unclenches.
So I think Mbeumo is a buy, man. For me, again, not sitting on the fence. I think if you have to buy an attacker, and obviously you have your Matetas, and we'll talk about Thiago a little bit also in the next section. I think Mbeumo is the one to buy.
I still think Cunha is a good punt for people that want to go there for 7-8 weeks if you don't have the money.
Yep. I think my ranking, Mbeumo, Bruno, Cunha. Again, if you have Bruno, you're not going to sell him. You're not going to downgrade him in that sense. So that's why I'm looking at my team that Bruno is there. Bruno is not moving.
Yeah.
And then Mbeumo, just get him alongside.
I just to be clear, I think Bruno's a buy also. Like for people that want to go there with points to routes and not having money to spend elsewhere. Like nobody else is there to spend your money on. I have no problems with people going Bruno.
Anything more to add about any of the other attackers in the list? I want to talk about Thiago a little bit there. Let me pull up Thiago's data. In terms of the last 6, now Thiago's data is really good. But in terms of investment point, guys, now Brentford have Brighton in this week. Then they have the good fixture, obviously, in 13. And then it's Arsenal away, Tottenham away. The run is much better in terms of when we enter in 16. So is Thiago potentially a wait for this week, buy later? Or do you just get him in now?
Depends on who you're selling, right? If you have a striker to sell, you're saving a transfer in 16 if you're going to get Thiago, because Brentford have done well against the big teams this season, man. They've beaten us. They've They've given Liverpool a game. I think, except for City, they've beaten everybody and scored goals against everybody. So I have no problems. Just one poor game, that's Arsenal. And then outside of that, Brighton, Burnley, Spurs are pretty decent fixtures. And then you get into Leeds. So let's say if you're selling a Joao Pedro because you're worried about expected minutes, for example, and you don't want to go down to a Guiu to get a United midfielder, for example, then get Thiago right now. I have no problems with that. It's a transfer you're probably going to make down the line. And it's a robust transfer in this December period with 90 minutes and penalties. Like with one bad fixture, that's Arsenal. You're fine.
Thiago looks like definitely a third forward to have, and I think he's potentially looking more talismanic than the equivalent 6 million midfielders now.
Easily the best pick in the bracket.
Anything more to add in terms of the attackers, guys?
Shada's a good punt for people that want to go there similarly, right? You mentioned his numbers. He's actually bettered Thiago's numbers in the last 4 weeks for XGI, shots in the box, etc. as well. And with Utara going to AFCON, they're going to shift to Brentford of last season, sort of, where Shada and Thiago become the front two, like Vissa and Bumo. So that also becomes a leaf in his book once the fixtures season up, game week 16 onwards. Just a punt at that point.
Cool. Let's move to our drafts, and we also have a Wildcard 12 draft we need to talk about, guys. A lot of guys have activated their wildcard this week. We will also talk about in 13, but this is a draft I put together. And again, what I try to do over here is I try to include the players I wanted first, and this sort of filled in the blanks with the rest. So I put Verbruggen, Dubravka in goal. The rotation is really nice up to game week 20. Virgil, Timbers, Nessie, Richards, Anderson. Again, I picked the 5 defenders I really wanted, a fairly robust backline. Salah, Minte, Bumo were the midfielders I wanted. Thiago, Mateta, and Haaland were the strikers I wanted. So eventually you could argue that the depth isn't this great over here with Potts and King. But again, it's easy to, like, let's say you say I don't want Salah, you can take out money from Salah, you can go Bruno Saka. In that sense, it's easier to take money out of this draft than to put it in. I just wanted to visualize something with Salah, Bumo, and the ideal front line and a good defense. How would you guys set
I like it. I like it. Like, I feel like if you're on wildcard and you want to chance on Salah, fair enough. The only other thing that you do is if you spread the Salah money, get Saka, and then upgrade one of the 4.5 million midfielders, and that's your move. You probably get United midfielder, a second United midfielder, or take up one of your defenders. That's the only other route you think of. Outside of that, no complaints with this draft.
Pras, your thoughts?
I think it just makes me want to not then have Salah, but then it's weird not to have Salah in Wildcard 12. Why did you wait all this while, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the backline is fantastic, superb.
Okay, so the backline is
can
good,
even be a
the
3-4
front
week
line is
experiment.
good, and then you get the 3 attackers you want in terms of like Minte, Salah, and Bumo. They're all very good picks. So you can afford, like, and again, you can play, let's say, a Senesi every week. You can play a Richards every week. You can even play an Anderson every week in terms of the DEFCON. The floor is there.
Also just a suggestion to wildcarders with transfers to spare, O'Reilly is the punt man. Go there.
Anything more to add on the wildcard, guys, before we move on to our teams?
No, that's a really good draft. It's the best Salah Haaland draft I've seen in terms of robustness. Looks good, man.
I think if you go there, you have to set up in a back 4 or a back 5. You can't really go with the traditional 3-4-3 with those guys. Because again, the 4.5 guys offer value.
Yeah.
Let's do our teams. First up, Pras, your team. 3 free transfers, 0.7 in the bank.
Yeah, so Pope in goal, Timber, Gabriel, Anderson. I sent you the screenshot before it all blew up with yellow flags, but it's Gabriel and Semenyo are the ones with yellow flags, I think. But Enzo also has a yellow flag. Gordon also has an orange flag. So anyway, backline looks good. In fact, I'll have a benching dilemma if and when I make my transfers, because Anderson may not make it in the end, and Rodon definitely won't make it in the end, who both have good fixtures. Then Saka, Semenyo, Enzo, Mateta, Haaland.
Guys, we actually didn't talk about captaincy. I just realized. Should we cycle back to that?
Let's do captaincy, sure.
I totally forgot about that. So we have the odds here from Rob T in terms of goals. Chelsea 1.94. But let's talk about the fixtures that primarily interest us. City are away to Newcastle 1.68. Arsenal, I think we're looking at Saka 2.04. Liverpool 2.26. Ahead, but not significantly ahead. Semenyo is someone people were looking at 1.96. Maybe a Manchester United mid at 1.77. There's not a significant spread, I would say, between City and the rest. So what are we thinking in terms of captaincy now? Again, a few weeks ago, I would have said, yeah, Newcastle at home, you can really you don't necessarily go there, but Newcastle have struggled a little bit. I know at home they have been better, but now we're talking about Dan Burn being potentially out. And on the team, when it's on the back of a losing streak, there's also some sort of discontent, some sort of unsettled period within the team, right? And we can't discount the fact that Man City now are smelling blood. I think Man City are getting to the more well-oiled machine status. I think I'm going to be sticking to Haaland captain most likely this week. LR, where are you looking?
I'm currently on Haaland. Same reasons, right? It's not just Haaland. Like Haaland is in peak form. Like even if you see his exploits during the international break, imagine the headspace he's in right now. Everything he touches going in, like just aggressive, hungry, going for the kill. The attackers behind City are in good form, like Doku, Cherki, Foden, all three in a good space of form. Nico Gonzalez, who's replaced Rodri, finally found some form as well. Odegaard is in form. So he's got an informed team behind him creating chances for him. The only other option that I think is firstly, if I had Salah, I'd consider captaining him. Because I feel like this is the week where you want to chance your arm against Haaland. Like, even if you think Haaland is going to do better, you have to try maybe playing the variance game and chance on a 90-minute man like Mo Salah. And Liverpool finding their feet and Salah getting a goal and assist, spiking a penalty and doing that. Otherwise, for most of us that don't have Salah, I think Saka is your bet. Looks in a good run of form himself. Arsenal are a good team. I don't think Spurs are what they used to be. I think they're fairly... Yes, it's a North London derby. You hope that it's got that 3-3 potential about it also because it's a North London derby, but it's Arteta. And Salah's just in a good moment.
And also it's Frank. I think both sides here potentially managers who lean more on the defensive side, right?
Yeah. So that's where United is still unpredictable, right, in terms of what we're going to do without Sesko. We didn't look the best without Sesko against Spurs. So I don't think we're quite there in terms of reliability. I think Saka's much more reliable than a United midfielder. So Haaland, if you're taking on Haaland, take him on with Salah. Otherwise, it's Haaland versus Saka.
And Saka has a good record in this fixture. I remember seeing that stat in your notes as well. But
2 goals, 4 assists, 38 points last 4 times they played.
Impressive, man.
And Haaland, 1 goal in the last 6 games against Newcastle United. Manchester City on their last 4 visits to the Tyneside have lost on 3 occasions, but they scored 3 goals twice.
Pras, where are you on this?
I don't feel like captaining Haaland this week, man. Like, I mean,
Bob dropped.
I mean, it's like what you guys are saying about Haaland, everyone will be saying that. Like, there is no disagreement there. But it's Newcastle away. Like, you can take him on with some risk, of course. But the only thing that is stopping me is who do I have a lot of conviction on. Saka is fine. Even Bruno is fine. Mbomo is fine. But they're not amazing. If Salah was there, then yeah, I would 100% captain Salah this week. But if you don't have Salah, then you're a little bit in 2 minds. Maybe it's the fact that, you know, I'm playing a little bit of catch up in rank and stuff, but I just feel like I don't feel like
Monday night kickoff for Bruno.
So,
under lights. Who does well against Everton, by the way?
Good record against Everton. But so where are you leaning, Pras, if you're going to go against Haaland?
I have Saka right now.
That's what reminded me when I saw that.
For 2 weeks. Yeah. He's been there as bus team captain for 2 weeks. So it doesn't take into account that he scored over the weekend, or he scored for England or whatever. But yeah, I just think it's a good week to take him on, and I will be taking him on.
And an upward trajectory for him as well, right? Like getting shots, getting goals for England, getting goals in the Champions League as well. He's been scoring. He's been an output merchant for the last 3-4 weeks.
I just think now we create narratives to justify their decisions, right? So my narrative is Eddie Howe doesn't know any other way than to go back to basics. Every time when his team goes through some kind of a bad patch, he says, okay, I'm going to, peg my 10 things and I'm just going to, pitch them and then defend and be disciplined and have my 3 guys. Now, Dan Burn is a miss. I recognize that. He's actually definitely out because he got the red card in the last game. So,
but we will see. Based on his form in the last 2 or 3, 4 games, I'm a Popo and I've been watching them closely. He's not a miss.
He's actually been
responsible. Yeah, he's been responsible for conceding. He's been making a fair few mistakes in that defense.
Especially for teams that play on the floor a lot.
Yeah.
Burn is good if you
Yes.
want like crosses and stuff. Man City don't cross as much.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But at the moment, it hasn't changed. Like this is the first time I'm talking about captaincy. So of course we all have our FOMOs and our ability to change our minds. But at the moment, I didn't even. I'm thinking more between Saka or Bruno versus Haaland.
It's interesting because I'm waiting to see how Spurs will set up. From more I've spoken to Spurs fans, I think they will most likely revert to a back five in that game. And I think that is traditionally Spurs' more defensive side. I think on the right side is you have where Kudus and Porto play. Then on the left side is where you might have somebody like an Udogi in that sense. So I'm a bit less optimistic on Saka in that sense because I also think about Arteta, right? If he's going to lose Gabriel, what is Arteta going to do? He's going to become a bit more defensive, I think, rather than attacking. This is playing on my mind.
Arsenal is going for the league, man, and they're
are,
winning this game.
But are you expecting them to win any game of the season more than 2-0?
No, look, I mean, Zoph, I understand. Like, of course, you're taking a risk. So to say that
I'm
it's
not
a
trying
risk,
to talk you out. I'm trying to rationalize
Yeah.
it to myself because I also want to go against Haaland. I'm trying to convince myself.
Everybody's
that
thinking about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So is Newcastle away? Like, I think it's the third worst fixture to go to.
But
like,
are
PSG has
Newcastle
gone
the
there.
same
Like
Newcastle?
big Barcelonas have gone there and struggled. Like Newcastle, no, they're not in the same place. But the core of Newcastle is still the same. The DNA of Newcastle is the same.
And he likes these kind of games. Eddie Howe likes these kind of games. He likes these kind of matchups.
Yeah, they struggle against the rubbish teams. They always lift themselves for these big teams.
Yeah. I just wonder about my mindset, but like, normally I would jump at an opportunity to take on something like this. But I just, like, my mind is like, nobody's just in Haaland's league at the moment. Like, I don't know if my brain is not processing enough, etc. But like, that's what my instinct is telling me. Is just nobody's there in Haaland's league at the moment.
I mean, we own Haaland as well, right? So let's say he scores a brace. That's 13 points. So you score Saka gets 1 assist, but nothing else. 5-6 points. You lost 6-7 points. It's okay.
But what my subconscious tells me is just that Haaland brace is still, despite it being Newcastle away, way more likelier than a Saka goal. Like, it's just the subconscious telling me that. I don't know for what reason. There's not confidence there in other assets in my head at the moment.
Yeah.
Only one I would take him on with Salah.
It worked. Last year it worked selling Haaland, so maybe it's on my mind a little bit. So
and not just last year, last week too.
Last week it would have worked out, yeah.
Yeah, but again, note that it was because of a missed penalty.
Yeah. In that sense, but yeah, I think as of now standing, I think LR, you and I on Haaland, and Pras is between Bruno and Saka, and it's obviously all TBD.
Saka. I may not even own Bruno
and that's TBD for all three of us. Like, we want to see what vibes are on Thursday, Friday as well.
Actually, yeah, but it would take a lot for me to move off Haaland at this point because I just don't see any reason. I just see the potential is just there any game to score that hat trick.
Yeah.
The way I see it is, I mean, I'll just finish 11 seconds. So the way I see it is, I see little, and maybe this is the LR in me talking. Like I'm not seeing the downs as much of a downside than a Haaland blank and a Saka 12-pointer. Then you double that. So but then most people also own Saka. So it's not really, you're not making 24 points, but I think there is potential there in a game where Arsenal is expected to score more goals than Haaland. Saka has a lower goal share, but Saka also has other route to points.
Yeah.
It's worth it, man. Try to get lucky.
You know what this conversation told me? That if you're on Wildcard, just go Salah. Do a 3-week experiment, see what happens, and chance upon. Because he's just, in our heads, a better reliable captaincy option compared to Saka even, right? Like, for wrong or right reasons, it's just what it is. Like, you can't lay down last 7 or 8 years of data when it comes to Salah. So,
going back to your
Bruno captaincy thing comes into it in 14, which we will talk about. When
West Ham.
I think
West Ham at home is better than Everton.
That is a lovely fixture.
Yep. Everton still, again, I don't really look at them as an easy opponent still.
Yeah.
So, Pras, sorry we interrupted you. Your bus team and your plans, please.
So 3 transfers, and Gordon needs to go because he's injured and he didn't do much anyway, especially around this period with the minutes. So Gordon needs to become ideally Bruno. That was always the plan by Gameweek 12, or it was actually Salah, and that is still possible, but unlikely. So Gordon, for him to become Bruno, I need one more move. It could be Gabriel down to a cheaper defender, or it could be So it could be even somebody as much as Konate, for example. So I could just do Gabriel to Konate, and I could do Gordon to Bruno.
If you want Bruno,
or
what I'll do is, Pras, I'll ask Josh about Konate's minutes in the next few for you.
Sure. So,
I mean,
but
the
the
minutes,
likelier outcome is I want.
Minutes are going to be secure for Konate regardless, man. I don't think they have a third centre back they can really play. It's only Joe Gomez. If he's fit, he'll play. There's no uncertainty in that sense.
Go on, Pras.
So I could do that just in a 2 move. But if Gabriel is not out for long, so let's say he's only out this week, then I can keep Gabriel and I can do Timber to Van Dijk. I can do Gordon to Bruno, and to fund it, I'll need to do Enzo to Minte. That was actually the plan all along before Gabriel got injured. So that's the plan. If Gabriel is fine or if he's out with a minor thing, because I would be benching in all these scenarios Anderson home to Sunderland. So I don't mind actually Gabriel being out just for 1 week. It'll help me out a lot. So that's plan number 1. And there's also some smaller plans, like I can do Gordon to Potts this week and Saka up to Salah. Just 2 free transfers. And then captain Salah and then move it back, in a couple of weeks or 2-3 weeks. So something like that is also was on my mind. But I'm like, if I'm looking at captaining Saka on one side and then I'm also looking to sell Saka, it's just not adding up in my mind. It's scrambling my head a little bit. So
if you're doing Saka to Salah, it's your you're doing your free hit after game week 14. Like that's also the decision. That's a reliance concurrence of that. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So it will come down to whether whether Gabriel is injured for long or short, and that will determine. Pope, by the way, had concussion. So for people with Pope, he's not 100% to start game week 12, or I don't know what has happened. Concussion should be 7 days, but you never know. Like Alderete was out for 2 weeks after his concussion. So it's not 100%. There's roots with Pope as well. So Pope could go down to Verbruggen. He could. No, I'm not getting Sanchez now. It's late. So that is another way I could do it, where Gordon can go up to Bruno, Pope can go down to Verbruggen. So these are routes that I have in mind. 3 free transfers, lots of options. But what is clear is I want a Liverpool defender, ideally Van Dijk, and I want a Man United midfielder, ideally Bruno, not Mbeumo. But Mbeumo is also good. So I'm not ruling out, for example, Gordon to Mbeumo and Gabriel to Van Dijk. I can do it for free.
I think those are the best moves, plus you also get to carry one more transfer.
Yeah, I almost wish like if you were, let's say 10-15 points even more behind where you are, like I'm convinced you would have done the Salah move, like because you have to like sort of chase aggressively, right? It's just like what came to my head is when you've gone against the grain and gotten Salah when everybody doesn't, you've done well. That was just a thought.
But I also like Saka a lot, and I'm missing Bruno every game. The butt clench thing he's talking about, I have it with Bruno, man. Like I know he doesn't attack that much, but every game when there's a goal alert, I know it's a Bruno assist. So it's like, why would you not? I don't understand why people would not have him. He gets points every game. Now people cannot even complain about blanks. He's not blanked in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Go on.
Anything else?
So that's it. But lots of options. So we'll see when we get injury updates. I think team selection.
It's cool. All 3 of us sitting on 3 free transfers, I think.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
LR, your team?
Very similar to Pras. Pope, Timber, Gabriel, Senesi, Sarr, Saka, Enzo, Semenyo, Mateta, Haaland, Voltemade. Even I actually don't know what I'm going to do. My idea was that I absorb information, chat with you guys and see what I feel. I think the likeliest transfer that I'll do is Voltemade to Guillaume, and see if that helps. That will help me do Enzo to Bumo, and then see what I want to do about Gabriel.
Fair enough. I like that you've benched Anderson this week. I'm not that optimistic about his prospects because Fulham are without Lukic in this game.
Yeah, but he'll likely play if Gabriel doesn't, because Voltemade is going to turn into Guillaume. So Anderson comes in.
Got it.
Yeah.
What else? But I think you could also alternately do the same thing what I'm thinking of, right? Gabriel to Richards and Enzo to this one, Bumo, and keep Voltemade.
If I'm going cheap, I'm way more tempted on being early on O'Reilly compared to going Richards. I'm tempted by him at that price.
I think you'll be slightly short in terms of price on that move to do it in 2.
Yeah, I know. I have 3 transfers. I'm okay using the 3 transfers. It's like The temptation in the cheap price bracket for me is O'Reilly. Not so in my head currently favorites are Van Dijk in the higher bracket and O'Reilly in the cheaper bracket.
Yeah, because with Volt also, I think you keep an eye on the Wissa news. I think he's worth holding if Wissa's still not back.
No man, it means sacrificing United midfielder. I want one or two.
You
United
can go the other route
midfielders.
I just mentioned. You can go the Gabriel route. You can go Gabriel cheap defender and upgrading Enzo.
Then I'll do Volt to Thiago.
You can do Volt to Thiago
Volt
later is my point. Leave that spot
yeah.
open in that sense, because I don't like you moving Volt to then Guiu and then changing Guiu to Thiago later.
So I can just do Volt to Thiago now. No? I have three free transfers. I'll do it now only because Thiago's
you can
got
do
a decent fixture.
Again, Brighton is not a bad fixture as such. Only the Arsenal
exactly.
fixture you say is the bad fixture for Thiago.
Exactly.
In those weeks.
So that's fair. More elaboration on the team selection videos, because now I will start genuinely thinking about what I want.
We are all expecting Semenyo to be okay, right? Because there are parts with Semenyo being out as well.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
I'm thinking about
you
Cunha
mentioned a
punt
rotation also. I think I put your rotation.
I'll cover this on the TS team selection video.
Cool. This is my team. 3 free transfers, nothing in the bank. Haven't made a transfer since the wildcard. Sanchez, Timber, Gabriel, Munoz, Senesi, Bruno, Saka, Semenyo, Enzo, Mateta, and Haaland cap. Pretty set on Gabriel to Richards and Enzo to Boomo. We'll roll the other transfer. That's about it. Let me check.
The Sanchez kit is on the way?
On the way, buddy. It's been difficult to get that, man.
They're like, sorry, nobody has ever bought a Sanchez kit. We have to make one.
Absolutely.
Good one.
Let me see. I think there was one super chat. This is just from Vijay. Hey guys, love the show. It's a good set of transfers for free. Gyökeres to Guiu, King to Boomo. Yes, we like that.
All right, man. So good to talk to you guys today, man. Genuinely got back into FPL mode and started
Longest
thinking
pod
about
in
it.
FPL Wire history, by the way, officially.
Really?
Nice.
Yes.
You know, the beauty
Guys,
about these long pods these days is when I'm talking to you guys, it doesn't feel tiring. Like it doesn't feel like a drag conversation. Like I enjoy it, and I just think that's a sign of a good pod.
Fantastic, guys. It was great talking to you guys again. And anyone watching the video, do remember to hit like and subscribe. We will all be back with our team selection videos over the week. Hopefully, we shall have more injury updates than if he trains tomorrow, he will play. Make a move. But I think at least Iraola will give us some clarity on Semenyo. With Gabriel, I think we're going to be relying a lot on the people around Arsenal than Arteta himself.
I think somebody on X tweeted that the next day, him and his girlfriend or partner were celebrating their anniversary.
Semenyo, yeah. Pras' tweet, I think, got highlighted over there. I remember that.
Yeah. So
but again, he was substituted at the 55th minute also. It's not like he played the whole game and then missed. So it might have been just something minor. We shall see.
Yeah. And he was.
Did you see the video of him being subbed off?
No,
smiling
he
and
was giving high
fives
fives and everything. Yeah, he's fine, man.
That's probably because of his move to Chelsea in Jan.
I think he's going to Liverpool.
Probably. I don't think we need more mercurial wingers.
Yeah.
On that note, great talking to you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. We will be timestamping it to have all the relevant sections available. Thanks for joining us. See you again soon.
And Nehal sent a super chat. Wait, quickly. 2 plans for now. 3 free transfers, Saka, Voltemade, Enzo to Salah, Thiago, Potts. Or if Gab is out long term, then Saka, Voltemade, Enzo, Gab to Boomo, Salah, Guiu, Richards.
I like it.
I like this. He's going for it.
He's a Liverpool fan as well.
Yeah, so you're basically getting one dead spot. Either way.
Yeah.
Both the moves. And that's fair enough. Like we mentioned, man, captaincy is open. It's worth it if you're going to captain Salah this week.
Is Zoph, do you still have Krupi?
Yep.
He might play this week.
I think so, because they've lost their last 2 games by bad margins, right? And Evanilson hasn't covered himself in glory.
Kluivert might genuinely have a fitness issue.
Yeah, so Kluivert, I think is actually injured.
Yeah, exactly. So that could be a play for you.
It'll be fun. He'll probably be on my bench, but could be useful in the coming weeks.
Yep.
Fantastic, guys. Keep talking. See you again soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.